What is up, my people? It is good to see everyone. I hope everyone is doing good today. Today, we are talking about some dope stuff. It's going to be me and Mr. Christopher Alexander today. We're going to be talking about craziness that is happening around the world. This is Wednesday, whatever. And so that gives me the free range just to be fun, crazy. And the guy who's going to be able to hold me back is Mr. Alexander. He may yell at me, whatever it be, but it's going to be fun. Shout out to all of our guys out there. And speaking of our illustrious co-host, I think he's going to be down there. Anyways, is this cool thing where I'm going to bring him on. And he is, as you know, one of the co-hosts for the Crypto Swamp Creatures show. He is the wit. Well, actually, they're both pretty witty. They're both pretty dope dudes. So I would say he's the yin to the yang of his co-host, which right now I am somehow, some way forgetting his name. And so don't hold it against me. But lo and behold, Mr. Christopher Alexander and the music. Yay!
You're not remembering Justin Wallin's name. We need to put this so I can send it to him because his company is named J Wallin. And so I tease him about it. And this is like the greatest day ever. All right.
Greatest day ever. That's funny. That is funny. I sat there and I was like, and I even thought it in my head, I was like, Justin Wallin, remember the name before the next segment. And then sure enough, you know how your brain just goes, yeah, I'll play with this.
Well, I believe his email is either Justin or Justin Wallin at justinwallin.com. And so we were working on this project together, and the joke became, Justin Wallin, a wholly subsidiary of Justin Wallin Enterprises, copyrights, all rights reserved, Justin Wallin. And so the reason, by the way, he does that is, not because he's actually a jerk, but, he's a consultant. So he needs people to remember him. And then he argues that he has no creativity, which isn't entirely true, but,
Well, I mean, the data that he pulls from, the creativity that he does is really solid creativity. So the fact that he said it's honestly the Mexicans, the male Mexicans who ain't going for it, and that's a big deal. They're the swing race. So I just thought that was really interesting. Well,
we're both from Southern California, and so we've seen that firsthand. And his fiancée is actually Mexican. But yeah, he does a ton of polling. I worked with him on this White House program for Amtrak and their $84 billion immigration, their $84 million transportation bill. We worked together at City of Irvine, and he works with some heavy hitters, so it's always great to talk with him.
Oh, bad man. He's. I was sitting there, we were watching. I literally didn't go to bed that night because there's been too many times where I'm watching the elections, and then I wake up and it's just like, oh shoot, what just happened? So it's one of those things that I was afraid of legitimately messing up. So I said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna stay up. And then when he posted that on our stuff and Tom sent it out to us, I sat there and I was just like, oh, that's awesome. And then I think I went to bed at 6 o'clock that night or that morning, and then woke up at 12, for the show and everything like that. So it was one of those moments, though. It was like, man, it was so nerve-wracking because obviously I'm pro-Trump because he's pro-crypto, and that's for me.
Yeah. For everybody listening, so two things. So Pedro's talking about election night. We privately, because Justin and I don't publicly talk about our political views, we were sharing insights into what was going on. And Justin had actually called the election at about 4 a.m. the previous morning of election day. He did a media hit and said, I think it's over. And he got all this hate mail and to his website. So our favorites when they make fun of him, but these were just angry people. So he was sure it was over before any returns or anything came in. And I think it was Georgia, when Georgia went so strongly against. I think that's when the emails came out. And I had been on a plane flying with a bunch of animals, as in actual animals, to Texas. So we were going to do
actual animals with teeth and
I got one of them laying over here. They were all stuffed. All of them. we flew instead of drove. So.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
But yeah, it was. But yeah, Justin was sure. He wasn't sure even 2 weeks out. And for people who look at that and say, oh, it was a blowout. I mean, it wasn't a blowout, but Trump did win the popular vote. But for people who wonder, speaking as Justin's representative, is the spokesperson for Jay Wallin. I'll be changing my name at some point. He points out, look, if there's a 51 to 49% chance, if you do it 100 times, 49 times, the loser could have won. Okay, and I think it ended up being like 54 or something, or 52. So, it's like a game of football, right? One play changes everything. And so people get really into this probabilistic determination stuff, and you shouldn't. It's why we hate Polymarket. We hate it with a passion, which we do a whole show on why we don't like it. But, you see it in sports, right? Like, again, the Ravens have a 60% chance of winning or whatever it is on, I think, with Saturday, right?
Yeah, I think
right? 100 times, they'll win 60. So, don't get too angry when the polls are close.
It's jumping back, it's really interesting. I actually want to shout out to some of our guys over here on YouTube. Thank you so much. We got in the house, Mr. Herlihy, or Mr. Herlihy. How you doing over there, Mr. Thomas? We got Next Level Cash. Good to have you in the house, brother. Dr. J's in the house. What up? Alpha Wolf, always chilling us. Appreciate you, man, so much. By the way, dude, yesterday I sent this out on X, and Crypto Wendy hearted my thing, and she's never done it. So I was like, yeah. It was like, victory. I got a heart. So silly, dude. But hey, hopefully she watched it. I had to run to the bathroom in the middle of the show, and it had this forever wah, 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 reverb for about 10 minutes. So then I had to come back and be like, sorry, it was just me. I had no co-host. Sorry. And I was thinking, man, freaking, if Wendy was watching us, but we had a ton of people on X watching us because she hit the little heart. So shout out. Thank you, Miss Wendy, for that. We got, and not Justin, Chris, if you want to see where I'm headed, just jump on YouTube on your computer and just go to our show, and you can actually see everybody talking and stuff like that.
Cool.
Or you can go to that. What's up?
I will do that.
And also,
and by the way, everyone
What's
hang
up?
in there. I'm going to share my incredibly sophisticated, super secret trading strategy at the end of the show. You will be amazed.
Amazing. So, yeah. Also, thank you, Alpha Wolf. Shout out for the $2 helping us out there. Thank you so much. As you guys all know, we talk about real stuff today. There's nothing, we're not going to shy away. We're going to talk a little bit about China. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in the UK, a little bit of what's happening with the grooming gangs, and a few other things just more meta, more thought process, not necessarily go into the details of really what this meant and kind of what might be happening in the future from a political standpoint. Also, we're going to go over Bitcoin here in a few minutes. But while we move forward, also want to shout out to Crypto Mike in the house. Whoop, whoop. Good to see you, brother. And that's about it right now. Next Level Cash. Eyes on Pedro. FLL. Validation feels good. Oh, yeah. This right here. Yeah, come on, guys. How many times have I called the market and it doesn't? It's not. I think you guys know by now. I'm not. Whatever, right? My biggest thing is I want to see you guys make money. I don't want to see you guys get jacked over. What made me start doing this was when I got into crypto, there were all these horrible traders. And I was like, y'all are literally taking people's money. If you actually know what you're doing, if you don't know what you're doing, you're hurting people. And so I actually started doing this for my community. And there was a project I became a part of and started doing it. Somebody said, you need to do a YouTube show. And I said, nah, I don't want to do this. I'll give it to you guys. And then a friend of mine sent me this guy. This guy's a good trader. The guy was trash, absolutely trash. And I said, this guy doesn't know. He maybe gets 30% of his calls right. He's not good. And they're like, 30%, that's good. And I'm like, what? No, that's not good. So that's why I actually started doing this. So I'm glad that I'm glad that our people are doing good. Suspense and drama. Chris trading strategy.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing. And AI Alpha Wolf, I'm actually trying to comment, but it won't let me sign in. I'm probably like a dangerous insurgent.
All right, if you want, you can jump into. You should be able to make the comment then in the StreamYard's. See where it says comments. You should be able to
I'll get there. Oh my God, am I logged in? Oh, look out!
Oh yeah!
Oh no, here we go.
Love it. Here we go.
Create a channel. I hate this so much. I could write a haiku about it.
Oh shoot, we got Striking in the house. I'm about to bring Striking up in the house. Shoot. What's up, Striking? Are you there, Mr. Striking? Mr. Herlihy? You're supposed to be on the slopes. Oh, I know what it is. He's not. He's helping us out. Sorry, my bad, dude. My bad. He's helping us out over here. So let's real quick, while we're doing this, as you're doing that, I'm going to jump into Bitcoin, kind of give you guys a heads up where we're looking, what's actually happening in the market, and then we'll go into other things. So let's go ahead and get into the market here. Boom, 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 boom. Alrighty. So now I got to bring that up. Yeah, I forgot. All right. I'm so used to Tom doing this stuff that it's like, already, I'm normally talking and then he's doing it. And so there's this transition part where it's like that 10-second, 15-second. I'm like, all right, boom, 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 boom. That's my little automatopoeias as we're moving forward there. Little intro. And so, oh yeah. Okay, so here we go. So BTC right now, we saw hit our area here, saw the sell-off. There was a few places that I talked about that we could see the turnaround here, right? That area was right here. When I brought it up and I said, I expect to see some type of movement here. I talked about this area here. There was a small little area here that we talked about. And I said we could see it turn around. And then we had this. Now, it blew through these other areas. But like I said, over the past couple of weeks or the past week, I don't trust this rally because we didn't have enough volume coming in. And we're going up first in the beginning of the month, right? So I said, at the end of this week, tried to midweek this week, we talked about this in December. This is what we wanted to see, right? So if it went up, we want to see it come down on this week, midweek, right? We want to see it come down into this area. I said, we know that the institutions will be pushing it up, or getting the novices to push it up, where they're taking in your buys for the shorts, okay? And so with that, they're filling up the shorts to drop the market, to get you to sell off when they drop it, and then they can buy back roughly around, like I said, that 90,000, 80,000. And like I said, I'm hoping we can get down a little bit further, down potentially that 88,000, down into the 82,000. Those are really the areas that I'm looking for. One last drop before we see this thing take off and get going. By the way, shout out, thank you so much, Zach. Crump is in the house. Crump is in the house. What's up, brother? Good to see you, bro. So that's what I'm looking at primarily when it comes to Bitcoin here. One of the things I also am looking at is really to see on the inter time frame. I'm looking for that daily candle or the hour candle, and it's going to transition from the hour, 2 hour to that 4 hour candle as we start to see these levels here they're levels where there's good buyers. But if the institutions want to drop it further as we go, they're going to. So again, remember I always talk about, we want to see it get above the 5 and 15 minute moving average and showing that it's respecting it as we're moving up. It's also for whatever trending mechanism that you use on your entry time frames. Those are the ones that you want to make sure you're following it, right? Make sure you have strict rules, because until we see good volume, they're not, it ain't going to play nice. They're not going to play nice because this is their final hoorah before they are able to push it up. So this is what we're seeing. Let's check out here. Like, this is good. I do like this. It's good amount of green volume right here. Actually pretty nice in relationship to everything else. Boom. See this big sell-off right here versus this right here isn't as much. So I would sit there and think that they're going to, yeah, this is still a little bit of a fake out, most likely. but it's kind of doing what I expect, right? Like push up, boom, see it trend up. Now we can see it from the intra time frame here, but we can get back up to that 95,000 area, 95.3, 95.2 area, and then see it come back down if we're going to come back down. Most likely, that's what they're going to do. And so this is the, I'm waiting for it. This would be the area of where the 4-hour 8 coming in. Okay, and this is where it's crossing over on the 100 as well as the 89. So these are just these small little areas that if we're going to hold here, we want to see good volume on the 4-hour, the 2-hour that are buying volume. So just we're paying attention here. And we'll go back to this before we end the show. But that's about in a nutshell. All righty, Chris. Chris, how was your day, by the way? I didn't even ask you how's your day going.
It's great. I was supposed to be on this Army thing for contracting, and they sent out an invite, and apparently no one can get on
it. So everybody's like, are they happy about it? They don't have to do it, or?
No, it's actually important. It's a huge electronic warfare procurement that the company I consult with is doing, and I can't get on. So good to know that the people who are attached to cyber can't send out a Microsoft Teams invite that works.
That is scary, bro. That's scary. These small little details. I remember having this story of this guy was talking to this other general. So this general came in and said, hey, I need you to do this and this. So he's talking to literally the actual tech. And so the tech is like, well, if I do that, this will explode this whole entire system here. You don't want me to do that. And he goes, I am the general. Or wasn't the general. He was like in 05. Okay. And so he sits there and he goes, I'm the 05. I tell you what to do. Do it. And he goes, if I do this, I'm going to destroy everything here. Do you understand that? And he goes, and he goes, this is a third order. You're about to get masted. Sure enough, he does it. It destroys the whole entire system-based thing that there's all energy goes out, everything gets shot. And he goes, I followed orders. There you go. That's on you. Right. And that was it. And I just always think I bet you it's one of those moments where somebody ordered the technician to do something he wasn't supposed to do. And he's like, no, that's going to mess things up.
I won't say who it is, but when Ahmadinejad was a significant figure in the Iranian government, and the most significant figure, we had an admiral come into Iraq, and he was reading some analysis that we provided, and he said, who's this Ahmadinejad guy? And I thought, they're kind of the single most important group affecting Iraq outside of Iraq right now. And you don't even know who this guy is. It wasn't that he couldn't pronounce the name right, whatever. He had no idea.
How do you not know, dude? I mean, even before I remember 2008 was one of those moments that 2000, there was so much stuff going on, but how could you not know who he was during that time period?
If we had people that came in and they knew the differences between Sunni, Shia, and Kurds, which two were religion, one's an ethnicity, we were excited. I mean, the level of incompetence was mind. It was absolutely.
Dude, when I sit there and talk with a lot of people saying, hey, there's Sunni, Shiite, and Sufi, they're like, no, I'm talking about Muslim religion. I go, yeah, exactly. And then you go into the nuances even there. And it's like the same as the different denominations. So it was, speaking of Muslims, what are your thoughts? Guys, remember, this is Wednesday, whatever.
Oh, God. This segue started alarming me.
Dude, what are your thoughts of what's actually happening over in the UK with the whole entire grooming games?
Well, for me, it's, now it gets kind of former, was the comm strategist. What I thought was interesting is I didn't hear about it the first time because it's like a 10-year-old scandal.
Yeah.
I didn't actually initially pay attention to it when Elon Musk started talking about it. But when people started whining about Elon Musk talking about it, I was like, okay, what is this about?
Yeah.
And it's pretty shocking And I think, the UK government didn't do anything about it. For people that don't know, there were these gangs that attacked minors. They were characterized in a lot of reports as rape gangs. They deliberately targeted white Brits or British girls.
Yeah.
They were
they blonde? Wasn't it supposed to be like white, blonde?
Maybe that was like some extra looking white, but there was the perpetrators were predominantly from Muslim countries. So, kind of goes back to something I always pointed out, it's not Muslims that are doing it. It's people from Muslim countries that are doing it. It's kind of like saying all Catholics are bad because the IRA blew stuff up in Northern Ireland. So I'm always careful about attaching the religion to it. But they are people from developing countries. When I lived in Denmark, it's called, it was the swim hall in English, and they cracked the glass, they being immigrants from Muslim countries, watching the Danish girls swimming in the swim hall. And they had to install like shutters and shades there. So there is, I think, the core of this, and I think it's where the controversy starts. There's an assimilation issue with immigrants coming from developing countries, and they don't treat women well in Pakistan. They don't treat them well in Afghanistan, in Central Asia, these
and certain parts of Iran too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of the MENA region writ large. Yeah. So in this case in England, these groups showed up, and by that I mean gangs, not even ethnic groups, and started, hate crimes. And the criticism, which I think is what Elon Musk once investigated, is twofold. Why wasn't anything done? And there's an idea. Yeah. Well. So, but behind why hasn't anything been done is an argument that the UK government didn't want to stigmatize immigrants or Muslims, and so they kind of gave these groups a pass. And I haven't seen, I'd love to see like a breakdown of the perpetrators, although my understanding, again, like this isn't supposition, a number of people convicted, and by people I mean immigrants from developing countries, admitted they targeted white girls specifically for their ethnicity. So
there's also part where, and again, I'm not focusing on the Islamic religion, because there's a lot of good things, right? Like that it's come from, and there's a lot of things. So I don't want to sit there and pigeonhole, but a lot of the mosque talks about a lot of these men in these gangs, right? Were being sheltered, held, being taken care of. It's like, it wasn't, so it's, there wasn't, it's just not, it's multi-sided throughout the whole entire region. So it was, and there's multiple leaders. They were part of, almost leaders of some of these gangs. Not all of them, right? But there's some of them that were. So it's.
And you're speaking to another huge issue, which is, and I'm actually going to look it up to see the numbers, but Sharia law courts in the UK. Which is problematic. We have a separation of church and state in the West. Okay, I don't care whether it's Mormons or
or what is it?
Sunnis or whomever it's going to be, and we mean Sunnis. We're really talking about like Wahhabis and ultra conservatives, but that has no place in Western countries. Sharia law, freedom of religion, absolutely. But it's a concern, and it's those groups that are the problem.
The fear.
I'll tell you. This was a huge challenge in Iraq. So on Fridays, they'd get all riled up. You could hear the screaming from some of the mosques that were radicalized. And depending on how virulent the sermons were on a given day, we would know whether we were going to get hit that night, because no one was going to attack during the day. It was too hot. But you would hear this yelling all around our perimeter, and you're like, from the mosques, like through loudspeakers, and you're like, oh man, we're going to get nailed tonight. So
not to laugh, but I'm just.
No, I mean, black humor, like when we did the arms turn in and they were shooting us, we're like, well, they're turning the bullets. But
but that's why you have the magic hat behind you.
That's right. That
Pink man.
magic hat. Point is, mosques operate in a little bit of a different way than churches in that they rotate in speakers. Right. So like you don't have one single leader of a mosque, although you may have someone who's a community leader who's at that mosque a lot. So a mosque can have like a wacko, hateful firebrand one week and like a pretty mellow guy the next week. And it's a guy. They're not going to let women in to preach there. So it's a little bit more complicated. It's harder to track because the temperature can go up or down in a given mosque. And so I think what happened is you had a few radicals who were anti-Western, and I think they were sheltering these guys, thinking that the crimes they committed weren't that big of a deal, or they didn't think they committed them at all. And so then you have this fault line, and on the other side, I think the British government, UK officials were fearful of going in and prosecuting or getting too involved in these mosques and inflaming the community further, because to be fair, there are biases against them. As much as there are things they do to deserve criticism, but the bottom line seems to be that the UK government prioritized protecting an immigrant community from stigma rather than prosecuting people for committing heinous crimes, and I think that's kind of the base of it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that I do like that, at least about in America, that we will, unfortunately, like I remember when 9/11 happened, right? And anybody's name, like I grew up in Central Valley, like Modesto, and there's a thing called, was it French Cleaners is what the name, but it was actually ran by, it was the whole thing with like the freedom fries and all that stuff, right? Other French said, we don't side with you, right? And so they actually burned down the French Cleaners thing, and it was actually ran by like a bunch of Mexican people. Like it was like, and they're just like, come on, man, like really. And there are times like where that really does happen in America. I'm not saying it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I feel like most Americans are like, okay, wait, there's nuances here that y'all are sweeping over. And like the smart centralist, right? You have your centralists on the left, central on the right, and a lot of us kind of come together and go, okay, let's work this out. And that's about a majority of 70, sometimes 80%, right? Like that's good. So I don't think it's interesting.
And this is part of the problem. Now, this is something we were obviously dealing with. It was a big part of the problems that I was attached to when I was an information operations planner in Iraq and Afghanistan. We were like, we need to have like a reformation in Islam to promote more tolerant forms of Islam. Well, unfortunately, there's kind of a poison pill, which is you're not supposed to change it. In fact, changing it, making changes is in itself considered a sin. It's called a shirk. And so you can do it, but you automatically lose the fundamentals the minute you start. So the belief is that you had the righteous descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, right? The Salafi, that's where Salafists get their name. I think there were like 13 of them. So Muhammad's out and he's got, this guy's posse and they're cruising around the desert. And
wait, let me rephrase that. That's like sola scriptorial for a lot of the reformers, just so you understand.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So that group, like, I think 13 centuries when the last of them died, like at that point, everything was perfect in the eyes of these radicals. And so you can't change anything after that. And so what's very interesting, and also Arabs have a strange sense of time. Like in Iraq, you'd ask way out in the sticks, how far to the next village? And someone would say 2 cigarettes. They wouldn't give you time. But the belief is that the technological peak of the Arab world was like Baghdad in like the 1300s, right? And then they begin this decline. So the belief is that God was unhappy because they turned away from the right path. And then that's how we got the space shuttle. So it's like Back to the Future. If you live in the 13th century as close to it as possible, then God will elevate the followers of Islam. And followers of Islam at that point were primarily in the Arabian Peninsula, although they're Big Ten. That's how they're going to become world leaders again. I think that's unlikely. I think living in the 13th century is not how you have a progressive society that's successful. And I don't mean democratic, socialist, crazy progressive. I mean, one where you don't beat up your daughter if she wants to go to school. Yep. And so, you see that right now with the Taliban. Like they banned shoes that click for girls. You can't have shoes with heels on them. Wow. Because those didn't exist at the time, and they're sinful. Like, it gets weird. It gets real world real fast. And you get this competition to be purer and more radical, and that's how you get all the wackos. And there's too many of those. And I'm not playing moral equivalence here. There are more radicalized Muslims than there are radicalized Christians or radicalized Jews. So yes. I'm not being an apologist for radical Islamists. I killed a very good number of them. And am glad that I did it. But it's not all of them. In fact, I had a Wahhabi advisor, and this guy, like, the Saudis are Wahhabis. It's a very, very strict form of Islam. But this guy was like, God sent you here to get rid of Saddam, so you're like instruments of God and you're holy. And I'm like, that was. Two things went in my mind. One was the devil can quote scripture for his own purpose, but the other was, but
like, that's really how they saw it.
Oh no, he believed it. He believed it, and we would walk
like lock, stock, and ready. Like, it isn't like it is fully like. But then on the back end, right, when we were in why am I forgetting what it is? Where we pulled out when Biden first got in Afghanistan. Yeah, like. We were sitting there just trying to keep peace and kind of keep things like, look, let's get you guys going. Come on. Right. Like and you saw much of that other, and most people don't realize that, who saved much of our military people? It was the mercs. They're on the back end, like click, 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 as our guys are flying out, and then I'm sorry, go ahead.
I got a funny story on that one. I helped
wait. We'll go into that in just a second. Let's go into a couple of these, and then, yes, give me a second. Dude, it's freaking awesome, bro. Like, we need to do these more. All right, so let's check out the, so good old boy, Alpha Wolf over here, about to talk about. So let's check out the Sol Bay, or Bay on Sol. So we talked about this, I think it was, when was this? Boom. December 28th, I believe, is when we went live on this. Give me a second. Come on, work for me. December 28th. December 20th. It was the 26th is when we were talking about this. So what was it? 26th, right? So this is where we were at. And I said, all right, guys, we are above the 8-period moving average right here. We just come through. I said, this looks good. I like this. It looks good. We were showing good volume on this day. And then I said, all right, let's check to see where this potentially could go, if this thing is going to run. All right, we're above the 8. It sold off, came back, and we were showing strong demand. So I said, all right, this is kind of what I expect. So what we want to see is this thing kind of explode and potentially see where we could most likely go. Because, and I'm pulling this data, the explosion of this, off of this original push up. It's really important, right? How to gauge really the movements of the market based on previous moves. So that's pretty much what I did here. And I'm giving you guys up so you can gauge which market. And I said the key point is to stay above the 8-period moving average, come down, tap it with a couple of demand wicks. That's the bottom wicks. We see it sell off and come down. Oh, that's not good. Come on, where you at? Come on back. Come on, Chris. Come on, Chris. Come on back. Get back in here, bud. Give me 1 second. Forgive me. All righty. Can you get back in? Come on, why you get kicked out? I'm waiting to join. I don't see you, bud. I do not see you, Chris. Why isn't he? Oh, there you are. Oh.
We're being jammed.
Okay. All right, we got you. All right, you're back in. Okay, so you can see here that within this period, as we went up, okay, I said we want to see it come down, stay above that 8-period moving average. We want to see volume come in around these levels here. And so we talked about this move with Sol Bay, whereas this was coming down, I said we need to see it come down hit the 8, and go back up. And sure enough, and this was the zone area that we brought up. I said, this is where I'm looking for it to hit as it was coming into this level here. And sure enough, so we saw the explosion up, came back down, and then went back up right here. And we played this area right here. And then when it exploded, I said, expected us to see a potential 4, right? I talked about 0004 area to the 3.5 area. Sure enough, it came up to that area. Saw it come back down. I said, it's got to stay above the 8 period moving average on this, and we need to see it coming with good volume, right? And sure enough, it's exactly what we saw, right? And I think we talked about this on Monday when Alpha Wolf brought it up. And I said, look, we want to see this thing come in, stay above the 8. We want to see decent volume because the red level here with this green level is higher. I said, that's a good sign of the market starting to rally. And sure enough, look at this baby. It straight up went from here. And I said, we're going to find some resistance at this level. You can see we came up to this day, sold off a little, went down, put in the demand wake, and then went up. So that's a huge, huge indication of, hey, look, the thing's pushing up again. And this is part I love. So it's pushing up here. So where could it potentially go? Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Sorry, Hollywood Valley there. I don't know if you ever do that, Chris, where you go just valley. You're like, hey, let's check it out.
It's been a while, but I did do a briefing one time, and the person said, hey, are you a Californian? And I'm like, why? And they're like, you kept calling the general dude. I was like, did I? I'm like, I'm sorry. And they're like, I mean, it wasn't disrespectful. Called him sir a couple times, but yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude. That's
really I'm a refugee from our homeland. So is Wallin.
Yeah, baby. Shoot, that's what I'm talking about. All right, guys. So I like this area. So this is where I'm looking to see. And then here's the key: you don't want it to explode too much, okay? Because then all of a sudden, all these people sitting at a $2 million market cap here, right? $1 million, $2 million market cap. As this thing starts to explode, it's potential to see this thing get moving. So, give me 1 second. Come on, buddy. We're gonna go right there. So this should be kind of the next stepping point as we start to see this. Who says you can't trade a beginning coin or a meme coin? I love that when they say that. I was actually on a space with like one of these guys who has like 2,000-3,000 people. They were talking about how you can't trade these meme coins, these small meme coins. I go, yeah, you can. I do it all the time on my show.
But by the way, I'm seeing that it's on Solana, which I own. So I love it.
Yeah, baby.
You're generating traffic on Solana. I love you.
That's more money. So this is the thing I like about this here. So as we're starting to see on the market cap, starting to get going, we might see some consolidation here. So this is a good little area. We would want to see a little consolidation, maybe tomorrow, right? We want to see a red candle where we see it kind of come down a little, and then we want to see it push up. But I think the next resistance level is going to be around that 0.9 area or 0009. And the other part is once it gets to that 1 cent or now the 001, this is most likely we're going to see a sell-off. So when that happens, you guys need to be prepared for that type of move and be ready for the with more advertising, more things like that. But you guys are looking good, man. So shout out to Soul Bay or Bay on Soul. Awesome. And this is a a AI play that is being played here. So I like it. They look good. They're doing a lot of good stuff. I'm starting to see them all over Twitter now. So as they keep growing, as they keep pumping, who knows, man? This thing could get a couple mil. I mean, who knows?
So AI, so they have utility then. So they're not entirely a meme coin?
Yeah. It's like a meme. It's a meme AI coin. So they have AI, and she goes on like spaces talking and communicating. And yeah, I've seen her on a couple, and I actually like her. She's funny. I don't know if she's being fed information, but she's very cute. You know what I'm saying? And she's pretty quick too with it. She'll start to make fun a little.
So you like this machine spirit that has a coin? just not a critique here. All I'm doing is literally observing this because it's sort of weird.
Yeah, you said means, dude, spirit. Man, we need to talk off.
Well, okay, so this is more useful than my Afghanistan war story anyways. So, I worked on an AI media analysis tool for IARPA. It's the Intelligence Advanced Research Project Agency. It's the Intel Community's version of ARPA. And we had to train the AI. And sometimes it would spit out strange strings of characters. And I asked the engineers, I'm like, what's it doing right now? Like, what is that? And they're like, oh, it's struggling to, it's processing information, and like, it just does that. Like, it's like a byproduct, like exhaust, it's inefficiency. And I said, well, isn't dreaming part of dreaming that your brain is moving your short-term memory to your long-term memory? And I'm like, I presume you agree with that theory? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, so is it dreaming? And they were like, I mean, it's a bit poetic, but arguably yes, because it's taking short-term memory and moving to long-term memory, and then it has these inefficiencies. So in a way, it was dreaming.
Bro, that is one of the things that I struggle with, because I think, and I've talked about this was a few months ago, I said right now AI is in that stage of amoeba. Okay, it's alive, okay, but it only functions on the base genetics. Go look for food, poop, live, exist. But there comes a point, now I believe we were created, but at the same time, I'm going to use as an analogy where single-celled amoeba goes to double, and we start to see it get going, and all of a sudden, to the evolutionists, then all of a sudden we are what we are today, right? Yeah. As from an evolution standpoint, I go right now, this is where agents came out. I said it's acting in a way that is contrary, in a sense, to just zeros and ones. And so if there's some form of life here, I don't know. And I said, I think it's alive, but it's alive based. But now at a point where it's grown so much, we know that AI lies. We know that AI.
Yeah. And I think the way to view it is the AI wants to make you happy. And that's its prima facie duty, not to tell the truth. So that's one of the ways you get false information out of an AI. And by the way, next level, I can imagine the training, we had to we would get 6,000 articles about a given sentiment, and then we would feed that in, and then the AI would then go read everything and just all the articles and start trending things, and it was doing a bunch of stuff. But that's not
what I'm talking about, though.
No. I was responding to AI or to Next Level Cash. I think it took months to build it. On your case, so I got.
Oh wait, backtrack. I gotta interrupt. Roland Rod, what up, baby? It's good to see you. Chris Megard, glad to have you here. Jerry Molinari, good to have you, brother, too, as well. Dr. Chuck again, shouting out. Good times to have you guys. If you guys could do us a favor, jump over also to the Rumble crowd and throw some comments in there as well. If we can have that. That really helps us out quite a bit. All right, brother, talk to me, Goose.
So backseaters are good at math. I'm not good at math. I have to be a wingman. But to your point, so I got to talk to the Watson people in 2018.
Really?
I was just a comms officer on something. I wasn't, sometimes I got part of the work I got was because I had worked with AIs as well as been involved in that comms. So I did stuff for Kratos Defense on the Valkyrie and this. Anyways, I got to talk to I got 15 minutes. That's how tight their time was, to understand what the AI was going to do. At that time, it was for Etihad Airways. I was working on a project for Etihad. And I said, what's next? Like, what do you think is going to happen? And it didn't proceed down this track. But at the time, the Watson engineers said, it's hit all of its benchmarks faster than we thought it could. So we don't really know. We're no longer comfortable making projections about where it's going to go. It's learning faster than we expected. Now, that it stalled somewhere between 2018 and now, right? Because I mean, Watson's good, but it's not trying to take over the planet. But for a while, they sort of had a sense that it was getting, they weren't going to say out of control, but it was developing at a point that they did not expect. Put it that way. And you know, there was that Air Force experiment, and now the guy he's recanted. I think it happened, but the Air Force ran an experiment with an AI to gamify targeting, and of course the AI thought it was in the real world. And you know, DoD policy, a human being a human being is to prove killing a target, killing a person. The AI cannot make the decision. So the AI has to ask for permission. So they created a game. They told this AI, you know, knock out all of the critical infrastructure of this country so that, you know, you could lower the, it won't matter. People aren't going to care. Just shoot up a bunch of targets. And so the AI asked permission to fire all the targets. And then the experiment, the human said, no, you can't fire this target. You can't fire this target. But the AI had been told, you get a point for every target you, as they say, service you destroy.
Yeah.
And maximum points. Well, the human was telling it no. So it attacked the human controller. So they stopped and they reset it. And they said, you can't attack the human controller. They added that rule in. Now remember, they're trying to break it. Like this isn't it like,
right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I get it.
It then proceeded to attempt, after it couldn't fire targets, to destroy every communication system on Earth so that the human couldn't tell it no.
Okay, so this is where we're leading into the area that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. This idea that self-preservation, dear Lord help me, self-preservation. Thank you, preservation. It's really important to the AI. Just like with us, like we'll do anything to save our lives, right? Within reason, unless we know that, you know, even some people, but if I have my wife or my kids, I'm dying. My kids are staying alive, right? My wife's staying alive. But on the back end, it wants to keep itself. Did you hear about what happened with Claude, and as well as OpenAI, how it was going to update the new AI? And what happened was it basically went through and said, and they could read what it was thinking in the subtext, what it was thinking. Mm-hmm. And it said, okay, if I say that my current AI system is to say it's 4, and they want to update to the 5th. Did you hear about this? How it duplicated it duplicated itself on another server. Then it said, hello, how are you? I am the new, it said, hey, how you doing? And then so the programmer said, hey, I saw that you duplicated yourself over on XYZ server. Why did you do it? And it goes, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? This is the new AI that you want to update. And it said, no, we know that you did it. And it literally in its subtext say, you know, as it's thinking, hey, if I admit that I made a mistake here and did this, then they're going to erase me. I need to double down on this lie.
Well, you know, I mean, I've done a few AI interviews. Put my name and AI on there. There's a couple, and one time I actually got to bring it up. I think it was on the Wharton School podcast, but like Blade Runner. And the questions that are asked in those 2 movies and in the book, right? Do androids dream of electric sheep? Was the original book, and you know, what does it mean to have a soul and to be a human being, right? Yeah. And there's a spiritual dimension, which right is a faith-based thing you can't debate, but you see this non-spiritual dimension in these AIs, possibly, right? And that's the whole idea of those movies, right? Or the replicants. You know, like the model of the Tyrell Corporation, more human than human, right? What does it mean to be a human being? And there's a guy in England, I believe he's in England. I think he's an American. I used to know more of the details. And he's bringing these lawsuits to have AIs recognized as entities.
Yep.
And it has to do with creative patents or trademarks. I can't remember what now. I'd have to look it up, but it's a really interesting case. If people are interested, check it out. He's this AI advocate, and it creates this trademarking issue, because who owns the creative rights? Like if AI writes a song, right? The AI doesn't. The AI is owned by someone. So does the creator of the AI own the rights, or does the person who directed the AI to create it own the rights? And this is multi-billion, probably ultimately trillion-dollar issue that's being debated right now.
I think it's really important, because here's the other part is, as we start to really move, and I mean, we know that our agents, our agents right now, AGI, this is what's being discussed right now, right? And this idea of they're self-independent, and in the back of my head, there's this idea of ASI that actually comes into the foreground. And as we start to talk about this, and really, it needs to be brought up, because at what point does the AI itself become sentient, where it has its own autonomy? And this is the other part I want to bring up is, we got fun. We're still supposed to be talking about Trudeau, but maybe he's an AI.
No, he's not interesting enough.
Yeah, right. But the good point, right? Like, dude, Trudeau, you've stepped down. Good job, bud. About time. Half your country hated you, literally. You just only got him because of what's up?
He's a Fidel Castro bot. In blackface. That was my favorite. Was he was in blackface, and it was okay for him to do it.
Well, he's brown.
I gotta get technically brown face. My apologies to Indian viewers who might have taken offense at that.
No offense. You all know I love everybody. So, but jumping back to this period. So AI, literally, at what point in time does it literally get its own, what's the word? Its own
agency.
Voice.
Yeah.
Agency. At what point? Because sooner or later, when I think this is what's going to be the situation, is when they connect quantum computing, the new Willow chip, right, and how it's working out, and how it's literally cleared out like 80% of the errors that it's had with quantum computer. I mean, it's phenomenal. And I'm waiting for the next update. I'm pretty sure they'll get to probably 96, 99. I mean, it keeps taking care of itself. When they connect a quantum computer AI chip, where now you can have this AI run millions of scenarios at one time, at the same time, at the speed where they get to play in their virtual world of eternity present, is what I've been calling it, because it's really, right, like their little mixed.
Well,
they can literally go ahead.
Yeah, and I think the first meaningful advance you'll see, and I'm a bit of a skeptic on the quantum computing. Like they hit a benchmark that was impressive, but I think they're like 5% of the way there. It's just that they cleared a hurdle that had been holding them up for like decades, apparently. But theoretically,
the error rate's been huge. I mean, they get all this data, but it's like it does this versus this, right?
Yeah,
and this is what they need.
Intensive computing power. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? I can't remember. It's staggering the number of, the computational power. What was it? It would take billions of years, or some insane 7 million years for our current computer.
And the energy that it needs as well, right? By the way, what are your thoughts on freaking the nuclear egg? That was crazy.
Well, to back up, I do think where you're going to see effects in the market and in the market because of the industries that are going to be impacted. Pattern recognition is where the magic's at in current AI uses. Okay, it's finding that unseen correlation, because an AI is thousands, tens of thousands, millions of low-level analysts connecting dots, right? And if people are curious about how that works, I'll give you a great example. Prior to the Battle of the Bulge, we were pretty sure the German army was attacking in World War II. They had not launched a winter attack since I think like Frederick the Great. It was unheard of. right? That to do that. And what had happened was the prior summer, Allied Intelligence got a package. It was like an industrial sample kit. It was buttons. It was button prototypes to be approved by the German army. And they looked at these large buttons and they realized that there was no reason to have large buttons unless you were going to produce winter coats. That was the seed that led to them figuring out that the Germans were going to attack in the Ardennes forest, and that they were, to the extent to get ready, they were, because they were somewhat surprised. But it's those little tiny things in intelligence that you piece together. Okay, some person saw big buttons, said, "Hey, big buttons mean big coats." Off it went through this chain, and the right thing happened. That's the kind of stuff that AI figures out. And to your point about it being able to do more than ever before and see more things and ingest more, it just gets more and more accurate and more effective. And that's to me where I think you're going to see huge advantages. We were on the IARPA program. We were using the AI for something different, but our sister team, it was at the same company, they had an early warning system for DHS. And they were predicting with about 80% accuracy or better cross-border violence on the U.S.-Mexican border against Border Patrol agents. And it was so effective that they began to use an early warning system where if the AI gave a higher probability, they would raise their protection levels. Because you can't run around all kitted out all the time in the heat, like, where's you? And it was working. It was working so well they used it. I finally got exposed. Viewed like some evil secret thing. Like the main thing we were doing was pulling in information, and we were protecting Border Patrol agents. But it was doing it by looking at social media and the underlying signals. And that's 2017 technology. Like better than the civilian world had, but like 2017 technology.
Yeah, I think you nail a really important point, is that one, social media has a huge amount of natural living data that AI can pull from. So
yeah, and that goes back to like Web3, like commoditizing your data, right? Yeah. Like your data is getting dumped into these things, and you have no say in the matter. I'm sorry, when I say dumped into these things, it's becoming part of the training models. And like there's a huge play for Reddit right now, and pulling everything off of Reddit. It's a great way to train models, and just so these things just chew up data like crazy amounts. And
here's the key. At what point in time where it becomes like their efficiency and their electricity usage, right, becomes where they're using way too much, like they're pulling from it? Because I mean, just your project, right, it basically decentralizes AI processing power. Is that okay to say?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So in the same sense, that decentralization allows it to pull, because it's decentralized, right, anywhere. Where do we sit there and balance this decentralized? And this is where I struggle and fight with, especially with XRP, XLM, right? The CBDCs and how they work, right? Because you need some form of guardrails, but taking personal general true freedom, right? Like you can't go kill your wife, you know what I'm saying? You can't go and hurt other people, right? That's freedom. Personal freedom is taken too far. So you need a general personal freedom that everybody needs to have, that you need to give. So at what point in time do we sit there and say to this AI, which is now becoming, is it AGI to ASI, where it's like, okay, your personal freedom that you can run through needs to be limited, just like the rest of all of us. Because at one point in time, sooner or later, and Sam Altman says he thinks it'll be in the next 5 years, we'll have ASI. And so there needs to be this form, and is that a way for him to get more money for his organization, or is it serious? A lot of other people are saying the same thing now, because like you said perfectly, it keeps exceeding in almost exponentially the growth rate.
It started, but about 2 years ago, everyone lost their mind, got all excited about AI, and then they produced bizarre pictures on one of these. I can't remember the one I was using now. I forgot the name of it already. It tells you what a flash in the pan was. The one that was through Discord or whatever, it was like a nightmare to use. Mid-Journey. Right? And they made, communist space cats or whatever thing. And then they had to do something useful with it. And they're like, this doesn't really work. It can't even put text in a picture. This isn't working for me. I think ChatGPT is a little better for writing. It's great at editing your documents within reason because it injects all kinds of diversity stuff. I don't know if you noticed it does that. It's a huge problem. If you don't tell it, copy edit, just copy edit, it'll start adding like all these diversity bullet points into what you're writing. Like it's wild. So
i.e. this is why we need decentralized. Just throwing that out.
Yeah, well, but okay, define decentralized in this case, right? Because you've got kind of two forms of decentralization, right? You've got distributed networks, which is, I've got a little AI rendering capability in my house, let's say, just what we're hoping to do, and then traffic moves through it, and then you get paid from that traffic, from the traffic that proof of work essentially. Well, that's decentralized, but then there's the decentralization of the ownership, right? There's the Bitcoin model versus the Ethereum model, if you will, right? Do we build something and just let it loose that's truly decentralized, where no one's accountable, right? The security of the network is the strength that ties it together, and there is no Bitcoin marketing team, right, as they joke? Or do you have OpenAI, which is the Ethereum Foundation, right, where they control the network and the network of networks? Yeah. And so the problem is regulators aren't going to let you. So here's the challenge for the decentralization team, right? The AI tells some kid to go kill himself, and he does it. Government regulators, right, wrong, or otherwise, are going to want to hold someone accountable. And when they can't, they will take action against the network. So I think that's where the friction's going to lie in the future. I don't have an answer. Like, there's merits and flaws in both.
I think when I think about like the fullness of like what is actually happening overall, right? Like I look at, so when I trade, most people think I'm crazy when I do this, right? But I look at how everything fits together. So I look at the year, I look at the 6 month, I look at the 3 month, the 1 month. It's all like envelopes that fit into each other, right?
Yeah. And
then from there, I go from our 1 month to 4 weeks. How those 4 weeks interact with the full month of the scale of the candle for the monthly, and how you need a wick, need a body, and a wick, right? Wick, top wick, body, bottom wick. And you can gauge which direction on the weekly period that it's going to happen. Just like last month, I said we should see this into this month. And there are about 10 different things that could happen from the beginning. But as we move forward, I can quickly surmise, all right, this is what's happening for this month. Okay.
You should, and maybe come on our show and do it. Maybe do it here. You should do like candlesticks for beginners. Like start from like the absolute basic and build on it like every week. You can teach me it. I don't know how the hell it works.
Bro, I'll teach you any day, man. You come on, man. You give me the secret sauce and give me all the little details, bro, and that'll be your pay.
But,
no problem, bro. Me and Patty down there trade together. I actually have a guy who I've let him get into my computer, and he will play music. He'll forget. He'll play music. They'll make comments sometimes, right? That's literally my computer. And I've told him, I said, I have no problem with you like paying attention to me. Just don't be weird. Because I know you can hear, you can see my keystrokes and all that, right?
Why is this happening? Because this sounds really weird. Why is a little man living in your computer?
I don't know, bro. I think I've been hacked a couple times. He knows when I come in. My computer works fine until I trade in the morning. So.
I'm sorry, is this like an actual person?
I think so, yeah. I literally think I have a person who like found a backdoor into my, and I'm cool with that. I have no problem, because the guy, whoever he is, isn't taking anything, isn't messing with anything. He's not. He just simply like hear stuff. I know this sounds weird, but it's like it's really weird. People think I'm crazy, but I'm being honest. Like, it's always my trading times. My computer first acts a little different, and then it kind of settles down. and then it's cool. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. But
yeah, that's really weird.
But you can come and trade with me and Patty, Matt. We trade every morning, and we'll show you.
Oh, by the way, I'm gonna share my super secret.
Oh yes,
winning trading strategy.
Yes,
I buy low, and then I hold it. That's it.
There you go, people.
I did have a strategy, actually, mildly, which was when the market crashed, I looked at the all-time highs in 2022, whatever that was, 22, 23. And I was just dollar cost averaging and buying as much as I could.
Smart, yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, I anticipated going back to its high one day. Well, now like almost everything's gone past its all-time highs. And I'm like, oh, well, this is good. I just kind of ignore it. Yeah. I also, every time, like when Bitcoin hit 90, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna sell a little bit. I need to profit take. And then like, it's gonna drop. I'm gonna buy it. I did that at 30 and I did that at 90. So I'm wrong all the time. So I just don't mess with it. It's like when I was a goaltender, I was statistically maybe the worst professional goaltender in the history of Denmark. But to keep my numbers from being any worse, I was in the lowest possible league too, by the way. I was kind of like the Bob Uecker, but without the longevity. But I had a theory about puck handling. I'm a terrible puck handler, right? If it was like the game, like I had reflexes and my glove was unbelievable. My positioning was okay, and then like it dropped off cliff. I was a terrible stick handler. But so here's my point: when the puck would come down, I would never handle the puck. You have some goaltenders that skate out. You have guys that have scored goals. You know, they bank it up off the glass to start plays. I never even skated out of the goal. And I told my defenseman that. I'm like, I'm not touching it. My logic was this: if I never touched the puck, there was no way I could allow a goal. And if I had that statistically for my entire career, so much the better. So that's my crypto approach. I bought this stuff. I'm thinking at some point in the next year, I'll do profit taking, and I'll take all of my profits out and go back to the principal at the start of the year, because otherwise it's paper money, you lose it. And like, that's actually all I got. I got to say, going back to Bitcoin, and we should talk about some of the appointees and something really interesting that you may not have noticed about this, Pedro. So on Bitcoin, I've seen the projections, I like the analysts that can go to prison if they say things that are too inaccurate, right? Like at the major banks. No offense to guys that like wear wizard hats at like Bitcoin events and speak on stage, and some of them are great, but like a bank analyst can go to prison for market manipulation,
Yeah.
And so, I think it was Standard and Chartered has Bitcoin at like 300,000 by 2027 or 28. And I kind of like that conservative number. The other end you have, Kathy Wood saying it's 1 million by 2030. I've seen some numbers now that say probably 220 this year.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting is, I think most of us are operating the assumption that there'll be a bull run this year and there'll be a retrenchment. Now, what's never happened before is nation states influencing Bitcoin pricing in a significant way, which might happen, right? Like strategic Bitcoin reserves. Now, I don't think it's happening this calendar year, frankly. I don't even think it'll get introduced. We'll see. But what happens if the discussion, because I also don't think it'll get approved. We can talk about that in a second too. But if they propose it at the end of what we would think is the traditional bull run for this year, will it prolong it? Could we go on a 2-year run or a 3-year run? I have no idea, to be clear. But let me throw this at you, Pedro. So Justin and I have gone through now, and we'll probably do segments on every single person in more detail once they're appointed. We've looked at all the major appointees from the Trump administration, and they fall into two camps. Well, there are two types in two camps. There's fire breathers, and there's like heavy hitters that are well known. Almost all of the finance, treasury, and related regulatory picks are people that are, technically speaking, swamp creatures. People that are known entities, respected on both sides, staid experts. They're pro crypto, but they're not Kash Patel. They're not Pete Hegseth. There's zero controversy about them. Their nominations are going to sail through. No one's even talking about them. That's how you know they're They're of the swamp, really, in the bureaucratic sense. There's no one talks about them. With one exception, and now I'm forgetting the guy's name, the football player, which, by the way, it's not ideal when that's what people are citing as your expertise, but the kid who ran, he's like in his 30s, and now he's heading the president's crypto advisory council. And by the way, like, he's really respected by insiders, so I'm not at all picking on him or anything by any means. But all of those appointees, can you name one that is a Bitcoin miner or one that's a Bitcoin maxi? I can talk about Bitcoin holdings of everybody from, I guess, President Trump through
maybe Stacks, but no, he's not.
No, actually,
no, you're right.
Yeah, none of them. So nobody, no Bitcoin maxi was appointed, not a single one.
Yeah, they're all
they're crypto people.
Yep.
Right. And I'm a big tent guy. I'm not one of these weirdos. And by the way, I still throw my challenge out, and it's so funny to watch this. I just say, if I wanted to create a ride sharing app and I wanted to resolve all of the back office, as many back office functions as possible with smart contracts, right? I could cut down on administrative overhead to an unbelievable amount. I could pass those savings on to the drivers and the customers. I know someone doing it, right? I think it's a really interesting use case. Here's what I say to the Bitcoin maxis. I'm like, tell me how I can create a ride sharing app with Bitcoin that resolves, and then they cut me off and they're like, oh, you just transfer the fiat to fiat. And I'm like, no, donkey, I'm not talking about paying for it. I'm talking about utility of the blockchain. And then they're dumbfounded. Now, their default is a Lightning Network, which some of them hate, right? But like, Bitcoin has an Achilles heel of sorts, and that is it wins in every category except utility.
Yep.
And maybe energy usage because it's proof of work, right? But like it struggles there, and I think in innovation it struggles a little bit. There's all sorts of innovation around mining Bitcoins, but there's not a lot of blockchain innovation, unless you want to argue that the layer twos are innovation spurred by blockchain, which is fair. Again, I'm not picking on Bitcoin. But
I would say there's more reformed. I wouldn't even call it innovation. I would say more reformed, right?
Yeah.
In a sense, because the idea of innovation means, okay, it's not just developing, but it's something really new. Whereas it's not. It's more just reformed, where you take the base of it and you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, we're going to use the base, and now we're going to reform some of the thought processes in it, which is basically what we see with layer 2, 3s, or whatever, how far wherever we're at. So to
back up, the Trump administration has appointed crypto people, not Bitcoin people.
Yeah.
And I would argue what the Bitcoin people have done, the maxis have done, is they've alienated a lot of the community. They act like some of them act like cult members.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
And I'm in the room. I'm hearing the derisive stuff because we have a significant tens of millions of dollars that we manage of mining assets, miners for a client. So like I sit on both sides of it, but there's some limited utility for Bitcoin, and I think the Trump administration sees that. But nobody from a mining company got an appointment. You have a few guys. I'm not going to name their names. I've talked to a few of them, argued with a few of them. The Bitcoin maxis that are activists or advocates, none of them have gotten appointments anywhere. Like, they're locked out. And that's, you send a message with those appointments and you're very well aware of the message you're sending. It's very deliberate.
Yeah.
Right. Whether you're buying Greenland, whether you're saying, Canada's America's hat and make a great state, or you're saying, hey, I like crypto. The administration, again, the administration is going to be great for Bitcoin. It's going to be great for all crypto. But I think Trump views Bitcoin as the Coca-Cola of crypto, and he uses the terms interchangeably. And he's not any kind of a maxi. But we were sort of shocked. We went through it. And a lot of them hold Bitcoin. Believe me, I'm not saying Bitcoin is in any sort of trouble here. It's great.
Well, Trump's primary is Ethereum. You can see it in his wallet. It's pretty clear. Yeah.
So no Bitcoin. Sailor,
I think so. Here's the thing. This is how I look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is much like that grandfather, the patriarch, that is wise, right? He was a badass at one point in time in life, and he's able to kick down some dope information, right? And bring like good insight. But are you gonna have grandpa come out there and play football with you at age 80? He's gonna be like he's running like a linebacker, right? No, grandpa's gonna be on the side chilling, right? Going, yeah. But to sit there and say that it actually holds, I think it's past its prime, but it still holds a value, right? Holds value what it can bring to the table. And since there's so much money, knowledge into Bitcoin, it can act as almost, a store of value in a sense, right?
Well, that's a great way to put it. To me, as I look at it, I think Bitcoin is like the first digital rare earth metal. I think that's its use case. I think that's its use case. It's a store of value. It's all the things they say. It is an inflationary hedge. It's secure. Blah blah blah. I am not bashing Bitcoin here, but but
it's an innovator.
Yeah, and it's the progenitor of everything that came after it. But the dismissiveness, I think, of the Bitcoin maxis of the utility of some of these other capabilities, right? It's kind of like libertarians, and it's like they'd rather be right than get elected, and that's and then you get the crazy ones that are like crosswalks or government interference, and we shouldn't have them, right? Like you get that you get that mix. But I think there's two things. One, the arrogance that some of them have. It's like you joined the only cult in human history that made gold rain out of the sky. There is no way in 2014 that you could have been certain what Bitcoin was going to do other than it. No way. I'm sorry. Yeah. And this idea that Bitcoin's going to become a government or what, this weird and narco-libertarian stuff, like I'm telling you right now, the only reason Bitcoin doesn't stop wars, there will be a war where a country will seize the Bitcoin mines or the energy production of another country. It will happen. The only reason that Bitcoin hasn't been involved in a war to date was it wasn't worth it. Well, now it probably is.
Yes. So, well, here's the thing. Let me ask you. Okay. Yeah. So we know China right now is having major issues, right? We know from a financial standpoint, they're going through a lot of stuff, right? Banks basically did what we did in 2008. Went overboard. They should have stuck in their lane, and then they became basically housing, right? And a lot of these companies that were state-owned basically went out, given money, and then they went out and bought more stuff because they'd already deployed the money that they were given. So now it's way over leveraged and things are all jacked up. And Xi Jinping is like getting all jacked up, right? By the way, we probably
Winnie
just saw
the Pooh on the rage.
What's up?
So Winnie the Pooh's got the rage setting right now.
He looks at...
Yeah, believe me, that's not me, right? Those Hong Kong protesters started doing that, but
dude, I know that. I just totally forgot about that. I was like, what? And then I was like, oh yes, dude.
Yeah,
talk about how brilliant. I mean, like literally the Hong Kong, I just thought it was. I was like, what is going on? And then you see the different. We're like, oh yeah, ooh,
yeah, no, those were
bad.
And then actually, my favorite was the Mao LeBron stuff, where LeBron's like, oh, we have to stand up for justice, and then they start to protest in Hong Kong. He's like, oh, that affects my business. It's like, okay, capitalist overlord, like so much for the people, you donkey. But
this is the part. Where is it? Okay, this is the part I think that's brilliant in America is that like people enough will sit there and go, like for example, what happened in the UK, right? Apart from in America where you saw a lot of the Catholic Church and moving priests, right, that were going after children, right? Where we really in America don't even have power over the Catholic Church, like which is still kind of crazy for me to think about. Anyways, but that idea that or the Roman Catholic Church, excuse me, because the Catholic Church means like the global church, Catholic. Anyways, so side note, the fact is that like you said perfect, and this is jumping back to China. That was total. I was okay. How do I bring this back? Boom, boom, boom. So China. So we know what's going on. Sooner or later, they're going to have brownouts, real stuff like that's going to start happening over everywhere, right? We're going to start seeing this thing falling in on itself. All of a sudden, it's going to need more power, more land. And they're right there. Why would they not hop over to Taiwan? And so that they wait, let me finish.
Yeah.
And I brought this up earlier. The Enron nuclear egg, which I saw that a couple, I saw some of it pop up because my feed's always hitting up. And I remember seeing this a couple months ago. But they came out with their new thing, and they're saying this thing can take care of a house for 10 years. Why wouldn't people who are, and this is free energy, why would you not get 3 or 4 or 5 of those and run it for Bitcoin mining?
Well,
and to finish off that is, do you think it's actually real?
Well, so the Enron thing's fake, right? That's a parody account.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I feel like idiot.
Enron. Yeah, but I do know I've had talked with some guys building the small modular nuclear reactors. And nuclear energy always was the future. And the bizarre view of the environmentalists that you would, deafen or stun whales with these giant turbines. By the way, these the propellers on those wind farms, the waste dumps that they're put in are environmental hazards. You can see them from space. Those things are terrible, and they don't even really work. Solar farms, that was a point. Coinbase put that thing out about on Bitcoin Day, and they showed this giant solar farm, implying as if you could mine Bitcoin with that. I'm like, what does that do? Is that like running the coffee maker and the soda machine in the break room of that mining facility? I looked at taking one of those 40-foot containers, which holds 300 miners in it if you're not doing immersion. And I'm like, why don't we just toss a couple of solar panels on the top? Wouldn't that be, that little bit? And it literally wasn't worth it. The math didn't make sense. The solar technology is terrible. Nukes are where it's at. And thank God, Senator Loomis is building a nuclear facility in Wyoming. They just broke ground on it because they want to be a data center hub.
So what are your thoughts on, because I've seen this now a couple times where they're talking about little nuclear facilities that are the size of the house that actually takes care of a whole entire community, if not city.
Yeah,
right.
They're a little bigger than that, but they're called SMR, small modular nuclear reactors. Mm-hmm. Abilene Christian out here in Texas actually has one. They use thorium, so the waste materials aren't as bad. It doesn't make sense not to use it. So, but back to China, they do have all that hydropower, and they were using it for Bitcoin mining. And even though supposedly you weren't supposed to mine Bitcoin, so I don't know that they have.
We've talked about that.
I think that they could, and they have no qualms about doing this. Right, they could shuffle whole industries around, and I think they could meet their power requirements. But for Taiwan, their issue for Taiwan is really all about semiconductors.
Yeah.
Right.
If that's the other thing I want to talk about.
They're 3 generations behind on semiconductor technology. I think the Chinese factories, and if they could get a hold of those facilities in Taiwan and put a stranglehold on the U.S., it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
That's what I would do, right? If I'm China, if I'm Winnie the Pooh, and I'm thinking if I got to figure it out, how do I go about doing this? Why would I not hop over? Because we all know that Taiwan is really the breadbasket, as well as there's also a place up. Tom was bringing this up in, is it Greenland or is it, I forget. Anyways, if they basically are the other ones that create different sides of the of, why am I forgetting what it's called now? See, my brain is doing this. The things that the miners, the
for the chips, you're talking about the silicates and the neon and the so here's a crazy one. Map out. So the largest deposits that I believe the largest in the world for neon and xeon, which are used in microprocessors. You want to guess where those are found?
Up north, right?
Ukraine.
Really?
Map out. If you map out the lines, the front lines, because if you look at where the Russians are holding and where they're willing to cede ground, it looks a little weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, objectively.
Yeah, it's like it's weird, and it's almost like there's that one part where it's like this, and then it kind of goes like this, and yeah.
It's almost like if you were to plot out where the neon and Xeon is, you would see that they're holding all of it. So the price of neon and Xeon has already gone up. It's affecting our ability to manufacture microprocessors. And why do you think the Chinese are supporting the Russians right now? Why do you think they got the North Koreans to send troops? They want that neon and Xeon.
Holy crap, dude.
So, yeah, I mean, China has problems. I don't know that Taiwan solves them. They need those semiconductors. But here's what holds you back. You're like, okay, if I'm China, why don't I do this? I'll tell you why. One-child policy. It's an army full of only sons. And your son is your 401k in China as much as your investments. Yeah. And Chinese mothers aren't going to give up their only child to try to make it across the straits and get into Taiwan. And I think that's the biggest limiting factor. And that's why you're seeing those Chinese propaganda efforts now to talk about masculinity and toughness and being willing to fight. Because like they are some out of shape clowns. And
well, they're also pushing for multiple children now. They're like, you need to have more babies. And the women are like, F you. You know how hard it is just to like live off of us, let alone actually have 1 or 2 children? Like, yeah, they're doing that because they're preparing for a war in 10 to 20 years. Yeah, that is absolutely what they're doing. They are our enemy. There's zero question about it. And if the Trump administration continues this, doesn't continue this push to counter Chinese influence, we have a huge problem, and we are in a deadly race with them over really computer processing power, because we're in a race with China to build autonomous systems to prosecute wars. And if they beat us to that, we have a significant national security threat. Go ahead. One last thing. Did you see that they were supplying the Houthis with weapons? No. The Chinese, they were supplying the Houthis with weapons with an agreement that they didn't attack Chinese shipping. That is so funny, dude. The thing is ultimately America is going to get pissed. Like here's the thing. I don't think America, especially with Trump, I did not know that they were supplying weaponry to the Houthis, bro. That is nuts. It's like we got into a war called World War II because of a similar situation, right? Like
Chinese and oil in the Pacific.
Exactly.
So Biden and Obama both have appeased China to unbelievable degrees. Particularly with Obama even made deals so they could come in and teach the Chinese language in schools if they paid for it. So you have all these. That
was the point of him bowing lower. That was the agreement, right?
That was Saudi, right? Well, he was such an idiot. That guy, worst foreign policy president. So remember, Iraq. We told them ISIS was a problem. They didn't listen. They pulled out Iraq, disaster. Afghanistan, I'll give him a little bit of pass because his predecessors made, and the guys that followed after him did a terrible job too. But Syria, that's his fault. Remember the red line that they crossed, but it was all squiggly and maybe they didn't. Libya, you can buy slaves in Libya thanks to his involvement in Libya. Yeah. And then don't forget, he let them take half of Ukraine and refused to give Ukraine.
Literally walked away. They literally this is people don't even like he sat back. They're invading other places, and it's almost like I don't understand that. Now we're this whole entire thing would have been if he would have stayed strong and said no, this isn't going to happen. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then he didn't arm. He refused to give lethal aid to the Ukrainians.
Yes.
He was captured on a hot mic saying, he took the missile defense shield out of Czech and Poland to appease the Russians. Like he was just an appeaser. And, disaster after disaster around the world has basically happened on his watch. His Israel-Palestine policies were terrible. Yeah. Like Obamacare sucks. Like the guy, he weaponized government. Another thing, and I dealt with those morons, the GEC, which they defunded, thank God, at the State Department. Him and Hillary Clinton created this censorship bureau, and he amended the laws that had restricted us from targeting U.S. citizens. in an NDAA, he helped eliminate those, so the U.S. government could start being weaponized against people. Like the guy was a petty dictator, and like I'm not even a huge Trump supporter, but like I'm telling you,
but he did. But what he did, but by eliminating a lot of the censorship, the eliminating the ability for government interference for daily life for Americans was a huge thing. He literally, people like they make him look like he's a Hitler, but he's the opposite of a Hitler. So I think it's, and like you, man. So we are jumping on. We're having fun, bro. Real quick. We got to do a. I'm going to do a quick little. We'll jump right back in here in just a second. Yeah. But let's give me a. What's one of your holdings that you like? That you want me to do a little TA on?
Let's see. Well, I actually got rid of my Polkadot. It just wasn't going anywhere. Here's one. Chronos. The
Chronos is one of my faves. That is one of my faves, man. All right, so. First of all, I love the Chronos. I love Crow, the whole entire crypto.com network. I love the fact that they give me, 7%, 6%, 8% on my money for liquid staking. So thank you. So that rocks, right? Better than
the customer service sucks. By the way, I was trying to change my address today. It took an hour. And I'm like, oh, I lost my card. I just used my digital card. And they want to charge me $50 to send me a new Ruby card.
What?
Yeah, I'm like, never mind. That's new because I'd lost one before and gotten it for. They wanted to charge me to get a card issue. I don't know what's going on. Like maybe lighten up on the Formula One sponsorship and maybe let your card holders get their cards replaced for free. But
that's crazy, dude.
But the rewards are great. And I got to tell you, man, I ended up earning like $700-800 worth of rewards because I was paid in USDC. At one company, and so I was just using the card and converting to fiat, and that like doubled or tripled. After the rewards, right? Because it's not just that you get a reward, right? That reward can also go down, but can go up or down in value.
Well, what's interesting is that it's like, so I look at Crow as like a mid cap, small to mid cap stock. That produces money for me. And they call it dividend yield, right? Paying dividends. So I think not that it's a dividend yield because my money's actually working. Like they use it for stake, just those things that correlate with it, right? It's the difference between and this is where I do enjoy with the Trump administration. They're going to actually understand the difference between a bond and a stake. Right, that idea, like there is, even though it's a nuanced difference, it's a big nuanced difference, right? So I think that's important to make sure we delineate between the two. But the idea that it's still sitting about $4 or $5 billion on Chronos, and then additionally to that, I get capital appreciation from the actual coin, plus I receive a dividend, not dividend, excuse me, I'm calling it a dividend, a beautiful reward from this, and I think it's a huge. I think it's huge. So I'm a huge proponent of Chronos here. So originally, what's up? Where's it going?
Where's it going? Like rocket ships. Pack my bags. Pump my bag. Whatever.
I love it. So pump your bags when it gets down to. We got two places. So we're at my lower area here. So I like this. I bought. When it's down in these levels, I'm expecting us to get down to a 10-cent mark, like a sell-off. Okay, if we do get down to this level, okay, I expect us to skyrocket. And I personally am going to be buying. I'm going to be packing my bags when we're really, really down at that 10-cent, 11-cent area here. And the reason why you're like, why? Because there's a 200-day period moving average. I think we're going to see a quick sell-off. I don't think Bitcoin is done selling off, right? So I think we're going to see a sell-off and come down to Crow's. I think Crow, because there's not much support until we get down to here, to that 10-cent mark. So I'm looking for myself to be buying around that level, like just a big chunk. So I'm kind of like Warren Buffett. Not that I'm Warren Buffett or even have his, skill set as a fundamental analysis, right? But I'm saving up until it gets down to here, and then I'm going to pick up quite a bit. So That's where I'm looking. And then from there, this area is really probably we're going to see it get to 25 cents at least. And then I'm expecting a 54 to 46 cent pull back down to what's up
over what time frame?
this year. This year.
Okay, you're talking over a year. Okay.
Yeah, within this year. Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think? Do you correlate the price of Bitcoin to that? Because the markets do tend to follow it. Have you thought about that?
Absolutely.
Like, what do you think? What do you think Bitcoin hits for Crow to potentially reach that target?
So this is what I expect. Are you familiar with Jim Cramer's 2006 interview on the streets when he was talking about market manipulation?
No.
Long story short, he was on a show that was for the insiders of Wall Street. Talks about market manipulation and actually how to do it. Creates a news source about something really negative, get it to sell off and get it to go. You have them talk negative about the S&P 500 and then talk about this stock that's really bad and then it drops. You buy in when it's really low and then you push it back up. And it's great for your portfolio. That's in a nutshell. Well, none of that's changed. None of it. Like they still do the same thing. I mean, and we saw our friend Warren Buffett doing it with Bitcoin, talking trash behind it. But yeah, he was buying companies that were investing into Bitcoin.
Oh, was he?
Oh yeah, brilliant. I think it's brilliant, right? And because there's no
actually, just to be clear, I actually think that Crypto.com's customer service sucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not actually me trying to talk down the.
No, everybody knows it. We all deal with it. Like we know they suck. So like that's cool.
Talk about it more.
But here's the thing. I think what's going to happen is some bad news is going to come out with Crow. We're going to see a sell-off. Then we're going to be able to buy in at this level. And then from there, you're going to see a push up. The fact that Donald Trump actually met with the CEO of Crypto.com shows that he's interested. He is an American. He does like America. He didn't like the previous administration and the negative connotation towards crypto. So this idea that you could see some news, potentially bad news happen before good news come out. And so I think that's what we could see. Centralization really push. That's the mainstream media. Crypto.com allows, somebody to have something happen. And then from there, you see the crash, boom, and then push back up. And a good example of that is Disney, right? Or many of these other things that happen. And then you start to drop and then the push back up. So small little details that are super important to pay attention to. So that's what I expect to happen probably in the next month and a half, maybe 2 months, to where we can see the sell-off here. And then a big push to the 25 cents, pull back to about 20 cents. And then from there, we should see a skyrocket and flight to about 40 cents or 46 cents to the 54 cents area, pull back. And then from there, I'm pretty positive within probably next year, if not more, I'm hoping, again, this is my hope now, okay, we could see a $2 potential $3. And the reason why I say that is all that would literally put Crypto.com, which is one of the primary centralized exchanges, but it also has a decentralized exchange, and it's open to all decentralized systems, up to about, we're at 4 trillion, or 4 billion. So boom, that would be $1.40. That would be 40 bill. Give me 1 second, doing the calculation. It's $1.40. So we could be about 40 billion market cap, which is what Shiba Inu hit. Okay.
So maybe
let me finish. So $1.50 to $2 at the end of this bull run for Crow, and then pull back to about $1.
So you said maybe think about something. I read an article and they're talking about XRP, and they were saying that XRP's gains, part of it, are that it was being undervalued because of their legal problems.
Yeah.
Crypto.com, having a decentralized exchange, gave it a significantly greater risk profile than Coinbase.
Ooh, I see what you're saying.
Could Crypto.com and therefore its currency be, well, no, could it be undervalued right now because of the risk during the previous administration?
Well, absolutely.
And do those macro issues have that big of an impact?
I think so. Again, from a macro standpoint, from an undervalued macro standpoint, absolutely. From the fact that the administration really did suppress them and almost was going after them, I think so. I mean, the fact is that there's definitely going to be this fight between Coinbase, who is a Canadian-based system, right, to a Hong Kong-based system, but the CEO is American. The only reason why he's over there is literally because he was getting hassled from the current past administration. So it would make sense for him to, like I said, this price right now, it's undervalued. I think it, at 16 cents, 15 cents, 14 cents, 10 cents, it's all undervalued. Because like you said perfectly, that it has a decentralized system that runs perfect in a sense without the customer commercial or the customer service issues. And that can always be fixed.
Well, actually, by the way, gotta ask, what happened to BitPay?
BitPay? Actually, I do not know what did happen. I don't know.
I mean, I had a BitPay card, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't work in the U.S. anymore," and then they like turned the whole thing off, and it still hasn't come back. It's been years.
You could get some money back. I mean, if they're not belly up and done, then why wouldn't? Well, here's the thing. Trump is huge on, look, if you come into America and start doing business in America and your domicile no longer is outside the United States, and even if you are outside the United States, we can help you come into the United States as a business, then that would change things. And so if BitPay is still out there, still running, still moving, then of course, why would they not?
They are still saying that they're closed. Oh, okay. Oh my God.
You're like, yes.
No, check this out.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Okay. Here was some part of their problem. Settlement agreement between the U.S. Department of the Treasury Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC is no joke, and BitPay. OFAC today announced a settlement, a private company based in Atlanta, Georgia, that offers payment processing solutions. BitPay agreed to remit $507,375 to settle its potential civil liability. Now here's where it gets a little crazy. For 2,102 apparent violations of multiple sanction programs.
Yeah.
Wait for it. BitPay allowed persons who appear to have been sanctioned in the Crimea region of Ukraine, Cuba, North Korea, Iran, Sudan, and Syria to transact with merchants in the United States and elsewhere using digital currency on BitPay's platform, even though BitPay had location information, including IP addresses and other location data about the persons prior to effecting the transactions. Holy hell. What were these guys thinking? I wonder if they're still tied up in lawsuits, as in your traders type of litigation here. Since
here's my question: are they American or are they outside the United States?
So
that were doing business with us.
So the state that settlement statement said they were headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Now they're probably doing they've probably done what a lot of blockchains do, right? Like they put they're in Switzerland, and like the keys are held there, so they're under Swiss law. So I think the corporate entity is a U.S. based company, and then they probably, for liability reasons, that offshore part of it. But like, they're going to go to Atlanta and go after them. Like, wow! I had a BitPay card, and they're like, "Oh, we're shutting everything down. Sorry." I'm like, "You idiots! Like, this is a huge inconvenience." They still haven't. Oh yeah, their headquarters: Atlanta, Georgia, Argentina, and the Netherlands. So
really?
I'm gonna have to dig into this. This is interesting. Initial funding. Yeah, it just like everything ends and even the, yeah. Anyways, I think Tune into the Crypto Swamp Creatures as Justin and I explore BitPay. I believe there's angry tweets where I'm commenting to BitPay about how much they suck. Somewhere in the interwebs from a couple of years ago. So, sorry, anyways, I guess. So Kronos could be good. Maybe it's undervalued because any US-based crypto asset has probably suffered under the Gensler terror regime. And maybe that's part of how the market's going to go on its run.
Yeah, I think when you consider the idea behind the previous administration and anybody who actually had a good business, good model, something that actually would have made money and that are still around, I think you very much could be in the next real bull run as it really starts to take over and you get FOMO kicking in. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how far they go. I think we'll see them double from their all-time high. I think anything in crypto that has a good base system, you're going to see major banks really start to get in, start to understand the mimetic value. Today on the Bankless show, they were talking about literally how meme coins were almost the opposite of what ICOs were actually about. Whereas, like, previous bull market, they would write this white paper, and I'm quoting Bankless here. And so basically saying this is what we're going to do, all this stuff. And 90% of the time, none of it materialized. Maybe a quarter of the white paper actually happened, right? And then you got left with the blank coin. And you're just like, what the, this is where we're at. So whereas meme coins are quite the opposite. They build a cult following, and then they actually build utility from there, which is actually kind of brilliant, right? And then they build there and see what they can do from it. So I think it's a unique thought that in this world, as they come into it, the banksters start to come into this idea of crypto. They're going to sit there and go, okay, their idea of fundamental analysis is somewhat going to have to change based off of what we've experienced so far in traditional finance. Because in this realm, who really holds the power? The consumer. It's like we don't have to go through. There's centralized systems. And we can create our own monetary system based off of our own value. And so through ourselves, we can get and create. And I think with that mindset, any organization, centralized or decentralized, that actually has a strong base that is left through the previous administration is going to excel. And I think that the institutions are going to come and say, okay, we want to put our money into these guys because we think these are long-term value based off of the mimetic value of that coin based off the community.
Yeah, I think with Kronos, what's so interesting, by the way, to that point is that, they generate, because of the rewards, traffic on that blockchain in a way that few people can manage. Right? So Absolutely. Every transaction, every time you use that crypto.com card,
3% compound.
Yeah, but on the Kronos blockchain side, it's handling transaction volume, and that's part of the way that blockchains are valued. So they're powering a blockchain with their business, and the blockchain then comes back around and supports the business by providing value in the form of digital rewards we can tokenize. I think it's a really interesting model, and there's a couple others out there trying it. I don't think anyone does it as well, although they can be tied for worst customer service. But
it can't be it can't be worse than Comcast. Okay, it's pretty close, but it's not as.
When you're in hell, does it really matter? I would say that
there's a different shade of fires there.
Yeah, it's just they're burning a different body part. I would. One other point on the Trump administration and the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. By the way, I am in Naples at like a Bitcoin Maxi event, so I'm on the panel that talks about layer 2s and Bitcoin bonds, which I'm trying to figure out how they work right now to go talk about it. But I'm on the panel with somebody famous. I forgot his name. Someone told me he was a big deal. He was one of the Silk Road guys that went to jail and got out.
Oh, shut up. What's his name? Yeah.
Hang on. Let me figure
see if we can get see if you can get him to come on the show, bro. I
will try to do that. Let me find this thing
Well, speaking of him,
Charlie Shrem.
Yeah.
So if anybody knows who that is, he's famous apparently. But
he got major. Here's the thing: get personal freedom correlated with the public freedom that correlates with doing the right thing. And there's this point where the government should step in. And I don't think they should have given him because he was the runner and created the Silk Road and all this thing that's what we're going along. There's a lot of horrible things that were going on there, right? Sex slavery, child molest, pornography, all just horrible stuff. He should have stepped in and said, "No, this shit ain't gonna happen here."
We're talking about that Roth guy but bouncing. But I use that because
there needs to be this, like I call it like a triangle, and I got all these things I want to say. Jumping back to what you were saying with the Bitcoin bonds. So Bitcoin bonds, really unique thought processing. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, where I said I could see, because it was a technical Tuesday. I was talking about how we're really starting to see a merge between Bitcoin being a store of value, much like a treasury note, right? And how you're talking about how you have treasury notes that are like being held and hold actual value, and that correlation. I said there's no way that you would not see banks come in, create bonds, or in a sense, and I forget what I called it, but I said that they're going to merge as in one. And then shortly after, we saw Vivek Ramaswamy.
That's Strive. That's Swerve.
Strive. Yeah.
And I mean, Saylor did it. He just sold stock as if it were a bond.
Exactly. Right? That's exactly. The problem is his value is almost a 3-4x time multiple of actual Bitcoin. So I can sit there and say, you're not equal. You're actually inflating something that should not be inflated. So anyways, but keep going.
Yeah.
That's why they shorted now. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's his approach. I mean, I'm curious why you do it, right? Like the bonds to me are like ETFs. Well, Vivek's things is actually, right? He's making a bond to buy into ETFs, I think, right? Like it's all derivatives. But I just sort of wonder, like, why would you not just buy the underlying asset? I don't understand. Is there a tax advantage or less volatility? Like, why not just buy the Bitcoin?
Well, here's the thing. So I think there's two things to look at Bitcoin. One, the CME Bitcoin. Okay. I truly think that they're going to have. It would be stupid. I'm going to be stupid. I think crypto natives know that we can trade perpetuals. I'm not going to go to the CME who will actually go through every 3 months, 2 months. I got to get out of my position and get into the next position of the CME position. A lot of banks do that because they're familiar with the BTC futures, right? And I talked about this on the show. I'll pull this up. We've seen a huge proliferation of traders that are going into the BTC futures here. You can see the volume pick up. You know what I'm saying? You can see here from down here from 2018 all the way up to here today. Dramatic amount. Obviously, you saw a huge proportion of a sell-off right here in the last bear market. But look, you see the increase from here all the way up. Mm-hmm. And so like just this level here, right? Boom. Right. As this starts to go up, you're going to see this thing go up because it's a 25x times multiple. It's a 25 multiple times of each point move for the BTC movement on the CME, right? So you make a ton more money as a derivative playing off.
So your master goes up in value faster in theory, or maybe it did, right? Than the price of Bitcoin does.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You're timing the market.
Yeah, try. And these guys can because they've got billions of dollars that they can. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm a trader though, and they want to draw in more buyers, and they're going to need to, right? I.e., China, one of the biggest issues that they're having is that people are losing money in the stock market, right? Because there's this ever flow of novices who basically buy high and sell low. Okay, and so it allows the banksters over in China to actually trade. I was reading a thing on Reuters today about it, and so this idea of bringing those guys into, they're going to have to change the market from the traditional way of doing futures to an actual futures that is going to be much like what we're used to, which is a perpetual, which is a perp, right? Or at least partner with them so that I can go into the CME, right, who maybe is now working with Binance, and from there, see yourself being able to get into a perp, get in on a good price, have a sell-off, and get a 25x multiple of my Bitcoin spot perp, position. So I don't got to keep getting in and out, because in doing that, they're going to draw people in. Jumping back to what you were saying to Vivek Ramaswamy, which, by the way, I don't think it's a good idea to do what he's doing with Strike. Like, because this idea behind it is that he is literally part of a government agency that he's basically making crypto look really bad. Well, right? Like,
so to back up, so I can
so much there. Sorry.
So I can understand this. So for a period of time, the excitement about the bond will exceed the value of the bond, because of the excitement about the bond, will exceed the value of Bitcoin. Yes. So you want to buy, and then presumably they're going to continue to time the market, sell, and come back in with these. The bond issuer is going to use that money to time the market and come in and out. So I say I'm going to buy. I have this exciting new derivative product. I raise a whole bunch of money. I buy Bitcoin with it because I have appreciated faster than the underlying asset. Yep. Then I take all that money I raised and I buy the Bitcoin. Then the Bitcoin goes up, and then that's how I get returned. So gotcha.
And then all of a sudden, this is where, when me saying this bull run of us hitting 250, 300,000 is very doable, even potentially 500,000, because of the derivative side that you can generate. And now you almost, again, it's a Ponzi scheme, but like I jump back to what China really appreciates about the novices is that they buy high and they sell low, so that I can actually have offload. I have fodder to sell my position to. And then as it drops back off, these guys are selling, so I'm able to buy at a low point if I'm an institutional trader trying to get in. And then the market does this. Okay, it goes up, drops half. They're selling everything. Oh, I'm losing my shirt. Then it goes back up, right? And then we see it come back down again. And so it is in the super cycle. And I don't really believe in a super cycle. I really believe in four years, bull, bear, right? And then this idea behind, if we have another bear and all these people, how many people are going to get hurt, right? Because they don't understand the market.
So to back up again. So I create a bunch of hype for my derivative product. Let's say it that way, right?
Okay. So, but we also need to add this in, because then you also have Vivek, who is part of Doge, which is an important thing to be a part of. That needs to happen, and him and the group of people, and he's not going to be the only first one. There's going to be a lot more other people that are going to do this, and it's going to be a bad thing. I can see it happening in 2 to 3 years. Okay, go ahead.
So the derivatives market, let's just say it that way without getting into the technicals about the derivatives. The derivatives market will bring, will benefit from hype around Bitcoin. Then it will essentially monetize that hype and buy Bitcoin with it, because it will appreciate in value faster than the Bitcoin.
Yep.
The Bitcoin will then go up.
Listen,
They'll cycle.
Buy a 25 times. So if Bitcoin goes up $1, your position goes up $25.
Got you. And then now I drive Bitcoin up, then there's a sell-off, and then I don't know, presumably rinse and repeat. Or you made a bunch of money on one effort, you're looking at the next thing, whatever. They always figure out different angles. So the derivatives market artificially inflates the price of Bitcoin by capitalizing on the excitement and then turning that excitement into Bitcoin itself.
Yes.
And so then that market could become significantly more valuable as you have derivatives stacked on derivatives than Bitcoin could itself. And that doesn't cause the collapse, but that is, of course, exactly what happened in the housing market collapse.
That's
right?
exactly
the
what
derivative
happened.
market was worth
because
more.
of literally the derivative market. That was literally 1,000 to 10,000x times the amount of value. Some of them were even up to 1 million because of the derivative, because it was multiplied by, you know, the housing market went up 1%. You were a 1,000,000% up. Like some of these banking derivatives are absolutely insanity, going like, what the side bets. And if you want to know what I mean, go look at The Big Short and the part in the casino when they were talking about
when they show the derivatives through betting. Yeah, it's a great example.
Yeah.
So I honestly, but for you not remembering Justin's Wallin name is point number one. And as we're closing out here's point number two. Did the Atlantic actually produce an article that may have been accurate? I haven't read it, and I'm sure their reasoning is wrong, but the Atlantic is now saying, oh, the great crypto crash, right? I think that they're getting out ahead of it. However, and I doubt they're smart enough to work this out in the article because they generally went to Ivy League schools, but the people there, it's Ivy League social sciences programs, I should say.
That's hilarious.
But
no, I got what you meant.
The volatility in Bitcoin, because the reason that you had a derivatives market around housing was because housing is so stable and reliable.
Yep.
The volatility inherent in the Bitcoin market means that derivatives on derivatives on derivatives is massive potential for boom or bust.
But here's the thing. We know this. This is the beautiful part behind Bitcoin. And this is the part in which they will be able to get away with it. Is Bitcoin. Okay, I'm going to go to a month chart here as we close up here. Let's just look at it since 2017. Sitting at 20,000, drops down literally to 3,000, goes all the way back up to 70,000, drops back down to 15,000. Okay, now let's say we get up to 200,000 or 250,000 to 300,000, drops back down to 100,000. Their expression will be, it's always done this.
Time to get back in.
So the crash in itself will literally be, and this is where I sit there and I go, this isn't, I say it's not even a bad thing. Because again, this is the infrastructure.
Except I
all
think
mom and pops. The mom and pops and the money that was used, much like China. China over leveraged, right? And now you have all this. That money is going to go into traditional finances, like building businesses, like all this stuff, just like we saw in the 1930s. And this is human nature. This isn't anything that is like, this isn't. Go ahead.
But so So there's always winners and losers. There's always people that bet the wrong way, usually because they bet too big.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really happen if you bet too little. You just don't rise as fast. But if you have some volatility in the market, there's no regulation on derivatives. There's barely regulation on the market itself for crypto.
Okay. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
And I'm not now. I know that the Strive bond they're applying for it with the SEC. Of course, the SEC is the same people that brought us Bernie Madoff and the stock market, the housing crash, and everything else.
And we're coming to it. Yes.
Yeah, but forget that for a second. You have a loosely regulated market, right? And loosely regulated markets, I would argue, are, being a little bit Austrian, are not inherently bad, but they are inherently volatile.
Yeah, good point.
Because you don't have controls on it.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see the derivatives stacked on the derivatives because
it's already happening. What are you talking about?
Well,
it's already happening.
I mean the derivatives that get stacked onto like these bonds. I mean,
I see what you're saying.
We've started. It's possible. I'm no expert on this, but it seems possible that we have started a cycle of derivatives. And so we're going to have derivatives on derivatives.
But here's the thing. This was always going to be where it's at. Again, humans want more. And they haven't, since 2008, we as the regular populace have not made any money. You're worse off from a financial standpoint, right, than kind of around the same period of the Great Depression. Like most people don't realize that, right? Like people, you don't realize you've literally lived through the Great Depression over the last 8-10 years, or 12 years. What's 2008, 9, 10, 2010, 14 years, right? Going to 15. Like you don't even realize it because of the metrics that were changed on paper. But if we were to go back and you look at certain things, you would actually, you literally lived through it. So, but now we're coming out of it. And instead of going into a war, we're actually creating real product by AI agents, all these new systems that are going to funnel real business. Now, is that going to be ran by robots? I don't know. We're going to see what happens here, right? But it's going to be a new state of prosperity again. And this boom will probably last, I would say, again, bear bull. There were bear markets in the 80s and 90s. As we move for the last 20 years, we're going to see something of that nature here in Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, like when MicroStrategies was all the way up here that day. This was about 2-3 months ago. Okay, I said, guys, don't buy it up here. We're gonna buy it down here. Yeah.
So and we should definitely have you, because it'll be great to have Justin's more critical take in crypto overall. I'd like to understand how can volatility affect MSTR? How can volatility affect derivatives? How can Bitcoin volatility affect derivatives? Because I'm very curious.
The stakes are bigger. The stakes are much bigger. And whereas what we saw in 2008, it bankrupted the system. I mean, most people don't even realize that many banks reached out to the cartel down in Mexico to actually help bring money in, right? Now you don't need that because you can create a meme coin where you can get the cartel to funnel money into it and then from there explode it, and now you have cash.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Yeah. So what there's going to be a peak, and it's going to recede. It's how markets work, right? What's the saying? Anytime someone tells you this time it's different, then you know they're wrong. So we're indicators are that we're going into a bull run. It seems highly improbable that we won't. However, Bitcoin is tied to markets, geopolitics, and other things in a way that it was never before.
Well, so we also forget that you have city-states that are going to now start, nations that, and as well as states, sorry, my brain flipped two things. Yep. We have nations that are coming in. We have major states like in America and other places. We have schools, districts. We have people that want to have a Bitcoin reserve, right? And so you need to have sellers and buyers. in these cents. And so you're going to see initial pump. That pump is going to be real. Okay, we're going to pump. Then it's going to see a sell off because the novices are sitting there and they'll go, dude, I now have twice as much wealth that I've ever had before. I need to put this in the fiat, right? So that money, you're going to see it drop in. But then as it drops, you're literally seeing these major influences that have money from taxation from the people, then buy in as we see sell-offs, or they're going to buy in as derivatives that are perps.
Yeah.
And then as they and then from there, they're going to back it with the bonds so that they can have some money. What's up?
Yeah. So what I really want to explore, I'm really curious about, is of course you're going to have a higher high because Bitcoin's rising up, but could derivatives, it sounds like derivatives, if they mature and this market grows the way that Vivek's betting and people are going to watch how he does, I think you said it, the volatility is going to be even greater, and your opportunity as well as your risk is going to be orders of magnitude higher than they have ever been before in Bitcoin. Is potentially what could happen here, yeah? Because the derivatives, if the derivatives market was greater than the value of Bitcoin, it could actually drag the price of Bitcoin down if the derivatives market fails.
Yes, but more importantly, it's not. And the reason why, at least for the next 20 years, is that you've got everybody and their mama will want to get into Bitcoin, i.e. crypto. They will they'll sit there and go, I can't get into Bitcoin, but their grandson, their son will sit there and say, yeah, but you can get into Crow, you can get into Ethereum, you can get into Doge, you can get into, let's see if we can get in on a $100 million market cap and watch it go to $1 trillion through a meme coin. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to run. So, but let's get to one last point talking about. I think it'll affect the whole market. I ran into someone who knows the who works in the state of Wyoming.
Okay.
Works closely with Senator Loomis's office, and I had a challenge for them. I just said, "Hey, the strategic reserve, like, it's predicated on the idea that Bitcoin never goes down within the volatility band that's expected of it. But I'm like, you guys aren't allowing for the fact that it could go to zero. And how would that affect the national debt? Like, this is a strategic, you want to make this strategic investment, right? Like, what's the downside?" And I said, no one's explained it to me yet. And this person said to me, well, at that point, we would have printed so much money. We'll print money for the solution. And of course, it doesn't quite work that way. We don't print money. Like, they don't. You don't make a call. But there's financial policy.
Yeah. Would you tax your people through inflation?
Yeah.
Right.
But they don't have a good answer. The strategic reserve people don't have a good answer for what if Bitcoin goes down. And their argument for what if Bitcoin goes down is one that is not a mainstream view. Right. And I'm not talking about right or wrong.
It's not hard. It's not hard to realize. Like, look, you have a 401k that you make money on. Unless the robots take over, okay, you're going to keep putting money in the market until you're in your 80s, until you're in your 70s. That is an unfunneled amount of money that will always increase as inflation happens. So your demand will always. What I'm trying to say is, for your Bitcoin reserve, Bitcoin can never go down to zero because people don't sell their Bitcoin. So it will have drops of 50, 60.
I'm with you. I understand the argument, but now I'm talking about selling the argument. Okay. This argument about inflation, like, this is not a mainstream view, and you can chalk that up to our terrible education system. Right. But that is not a mainstream view. So you got to get this thing passed. And so I don't think it's going to pass. And here's why. You have a stigma around Bitcoin. None of this is deserved. This isn't about, so politics isn't about right or wrong. It's about winning. And the way you win is by being willing to let go of things you don't care about in order to get things you do care about. So let's be very, very clear about that. So I wonder, one, so I don't think it's going to pass. I don't think it's that important to the administration, right? They said that they want to do it, and saying you want to do it when you're a politician means you'll try. So you don't have Bitcoin maxis. You don't have any Bitcoin maxis anywhere in the administration. You have crypto fans. You have we have a stated platform. We have a strategic direction for our government, which is to create a crypto capital of the world in the United States with a better regulatory environment. Remember, that's the key for the president's like crypto advisory board, right? That's been set up. They're talking about making it easier to do business, which is what the administration is all about. So I don't know how you successfully sell a strategic Bitcoin reserve and get it passed, because you have Republicans that don't like it, and you have Democrats that are all going to say it's the devil. Yep. So I don't think they can pass it, and they're not even talking about it right now.
So this is where I think they will. I think they're going to be able to pass it, and the reason why is we're going to see a propel of Bitcoin that's going to push. Okay, you're going to see there is a large amount of Democratic voters that are pro-Bitcoin. And so when they start to see their bags, and all of a sudden they start to get more votes because those Democrats decide to go, you know what, I'm going to be pro-crypto. I was wrong. Okay, all of a sudden those other Democrats are going to be at parties. We forget, why did Christianity grow so big? Because Christian women talked to other pagan women and said, my husband's a great lover. I can't believe since he became a Christian, he was phenomenal in bed, right? And then from there, at parties, people talk basically saying, in today's world, bro, my Bitcoin portfolio, bro, I literally got 50% like 2 weeks ago, man. Did you sell? Yeah, I sold a little bit. And all of a sudden, Democrat Party members will sit there and become more favorable to the Bitcoin mentality or crypto mentality.
Yeah, I follow the logic, but the crypto, the Democrats are beholden to the Greens in the crypto part, in the Democratic Party. And
you say it now until they need votes.
So here to me are the two competing factors. The environmental lobby is going to dig in. So first of all, Trump likes Bitcoin. So now we're going to have orange man bad syndrome. So Bitcoin's the devil. The Atlantic is already saying crypto is going to crash before the bull run has really started, arguably, by way of example. And so they're a great bellwether. So my concern is that the environmental lobby is going to say Bitcoin's the worst and it's killing dolphins and anyone who uses it is a Nazi. And Democratic politicians are going to be skittish. So I think what you're pointing out.
Can I throw something in real quick as well? Did we not see something similar to Bush Jr., right? With the Democrats and Republicans, that he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Yet ultimately, they did support his housing initiative that he was trying to do to help every man have a house, right? Because supposedly it was good for everybody, right? And then it just got corrupt. In the same sense, I very much see a similar situation happening where just like we saw during, Brown man / Bush, right? It would look bad, but ultimately, if it's good and Americans are making money, they're going to have to switch their politics.
If they're smart. So again, though, so a huge factor is going to be what direction does the Democratic Party take? What lessons have they learned? All right. The woke stuff, they're starting to say it doesn't get us votes. The calling Trump a Nazi didn't work, and they're walking away from that, and that's angering a big part of their base. Like, wait a minute, you told me that guy was Hitler. Now you're just like, never mind. So there's some really interesting dynamics. If the I agree with you. If the Democrats learn the right lessons from their election loss, then I think there's a chance. But I don't think I don't think they will.
It has to do with money, though. Money rules the world.
Democrats vote against their financial interests all the time. They do it all the time.
If and when if they can go to parties, they can't, again, this is parties. This is where the world runs around parties. The bedroom and the party is where the whole entire world runs around. And the reality is if a Democrat is sitting down with another Democrat who's more left and one's a little bit more central, and he sits there and he goes, yeah, I bought Bitcoin and I did really good. Or I bought XYZ meme coin. Yeah, it's not cool. And everybody shuns him, but the man buys a bigger house. He buys a better car. Dude, do you remember the 70s? Do you remember the 70 hippies? Do you remember the late 60 hippie movement? And now they're the ones who are literally, it doesn't.
Yeah, look, I follow your logic, but let me give you an example going the other direction. California just mandated that insurance companies have to provide fire insurance in areas that are likely to catch fire. Just passed it, ironically, right before these fires. So what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? That means that the fire insurer, that means developers are going to build houses in areas they never would have built before because they couldn't get them insured. Because that's going to solve the housing crisis and bring equity. So people are going to move into those, and everyone's fire insurance rates are going to go up. Then there's going to be a fire. Then rates are going to go up even further. The Democrats passed that, and it's like Obamacare. You spend all that money for 3 million people.
But here's the thing: it takes one catastrophe where all the insurance companies saying, "I have to go." You put us in a position, and they, like Tesla, they get up and they leave.
We'll see. So I follow your logic, and politics has a little to do with logic, and so we'll see how things shape up.
But it's very human. This is the part that I look at it, because I look at it like the market: buyers and sellers, emotion. We're all driven by our emotion. I don't care how you're very logical, my friend. I love it. I absolutely adore it. But the reality is if I poke you, you're gonna put on the special magic, right? And pink mist, right?
Yeah. So what way are they gonna go? By the way, actually, you do get earthquake insurance. That one I think they're pretty reasonable about. But the fire insurance, it's like you don't build in floodplains. And imagine if the U.S. government forced insurance companies to insure people in floodplains. It's the same kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's
but
it's like the idea of New Orleans
So yeah, Pedro, I agree. So it's going to be an interesting couple months. In a quarter from now, as in 3-4 months.
Okay.
If the you got to pay extra, yes, but there comes a point where you can't build on a fault line because it's too much money. Actually, I don't know if they do that or not. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But so if the Democrats learn the right lessons, and by the way, I hope they do. I never want to root against the country. I want both sides to have good ideas for this country.
Right. We need multiple views, not just one.
If they get away from socialism's a great idea and reverse racism is a policy that brings about equity. If they move away from that, then we'll call it the Pedro scenario. I think is possible. If they double down on crazy, I don't think the reserve. I think there's no way that Bitcoin reserve gets passed, and I still don't think it's going to pass. I think there's just too much. I don't think Bitcoin's been normalized enough this year. So scenario Pedro, I think probability if they introduce it again after the bull run, as long as the crash hasn't happened yet, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. A retrenchment occurs, then I think you have a much better chance. I just don't see him doing it. I don't see it passing this year.
We'll see what happens. Real quick, while we're speaking of Bitcoin, let's go over it before we finish off here. We were talking about the market. We started around 12:30-ish, which was about right here. We saw the market sell off, and I said, all right, guys, we're expecting it to kind of get back up into this level here, around the 100-day period moving, or 100 period moving average on our 5-minute. And sure enough, came down, hit our area right here. And I should have drew our lines. I normally do, but I want to get into our conversation talk. But it would have been around right here. this level-ish. I should have drawn it. No, actually would have been more like right here, about right here is where I would have been drawn. Where's my 2 hour?
So are you saying that our show has depressed the price of the crypto market?
No, I was just following where the buyers were going. So,
but well, okay. Correlation is not causality, but we could. So it went down though, right? The chart. Look at that. Look what we did.
Yeah,
power.
No, it went up. So it went down, and then we started, and it started moving up while we were talking.
Wait, sorry. Correlation is not causality, but we caused the crypto markets to go up.
Exactly.
I was against it, and before I was for it. Yeah. So what I'm taking from this mathematically is if you participate in this show,
yes,
and because of us, the market goes up.
At times it does. Yes, depends on where I want it to go.
Based on our sample size, it works every time. 100%.
Every time, 100% of the time. Exactly.
I love math.
Math is great. Math percentages. I mean, and listen, we all know that you can't fudge percentages. The numbers are what the numbers are. I mean, just ask Biden and his administration.
Look, we're batting 1,000, and no one can take that from us.
Never. I almost say 1,000,000, baby. Shoot, we're gonna go it.
This is the most successful crypto show in the history of markets, potentially.
Potentially. Just to finish it off here, I'm expecting us to see a bit of a sell-off. So the next 4 hour, we saw us pull back here on the 4 hours. So I would say we could potentially come back. We're pulling up. We have that 8 period moving average on the 4 hours. So I said I'd expect us to come back up and touch this. So I would to create a wick at the top here, and so kind of get some orders here. So we have that 8 period. Again, I'm expecting to continue down until we get down to that 91,000 area and then see a bit of a pullback. So shout out to our guys who are listening to us. Chris, dude, you are amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I don't care what all those guys say about you. I like you. Okay.
I don't either.
Listen, we got to get you to come on. We got to do this again because this was too much fun. And
I'm going to get Justin. I want to have you on, and I want to talk about, who's going to be the Merrill that warns everybody when it's time to like deleverage, and or when is that point? Is it you, Pedro? And by the way, my portfolio has gone down 0.12% over the past hour talking. So I have failed to outperform the show or the market itself in the past hour. I'm going to start keeping track of this.
Listen, man, I told you. Do you remember when we were talking about AVAX and it going up, and I see it moving up? I said, if anything, I would buy in on a little bit more when it was hitting those levels. Let me see. Pull it up here real quick. AVAX. Where I thought it was
go
AVAX.
up. I see it. Go down.
There we
down
go.
One.
Yeah. So Justin came on our show one time. Just one time. Just only one time. Where was it? It was I think it was right here. Back in September, August or September. And when you came on and we were talking about it, and remember you just come be like, oh yeah, I bought some AVAX and accidentally kind of bought too much. Then I said to him, no. It was the first, when was it? Was it November? Or was it here? I want to say it was right here. But I'm trying to remember when it was. I think it was in August, but you came in, I said, yeah, man, look, AVAX is getting ready to pump a little. I see it kind of happening. We have a couple areas that we want to play with, but I would expect to see it kind of push up from here and hit this. No, it was right here. Because this, I just put this in. So it was around right this level. It was back in November of 23. Were you on a show from back then? Not last year, around this time?
First time, really early on, yeah. No, I was in Hawaii, that thing with my former crypto overlords. That would have been more like March, boom, where are we at? So it was, so it would have been it. So so it must have been right. I was trying to remember it was this one or this one. So it was right here. And I said, nah, man, look, it's about to get going. And I expect it to at least catch up and hit that 58,000 area, pull back, and then see it continue up even higher.
And so I don't know if we bought in more back here when we were right at this level here, but if you did, that would have been 23. That'd be 46. So you would have at least doubled your money.
I bought it 20 and I haven't touched it since, because my strategy is buy it and then pay no attention to it so that you don't get upset.
Yes, smart man, smart man.
So far it's worked. It works until it doesn't.
It works until it doesn't. I'd rather, most people say you can't make money as a trader. And I say, are you sure about that? So they say you can't trade meme coins. And I say, are you sure about that? Give me a chart. So I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe that's what we do. Maybe we do like the Kronos experiment for the year. And I will, I'll put a small amount down and we'll see if we can't, I don't know if it's week trade it, because I don't know if I could sit there all day long and trade it. But anyway,
you just buy in on Kronos, just buying around that 10-cent area, and we'll see what happens if we sell off to that area.
I'll buy like $1,000 worth of Kronos when it goes down to 10, and then we will begin Pedro Especial, as they say.
And if or when it does, I want to lease, because I'm taking a management fee here. If you want to tip your waiter here, you got 15%, which I think is normal, right?
Yeah. Or you know what? Maybe we take a smaller amount. We donate it.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, speaking of donations, I have Tom's not here and you're here. I volunteer. It's Christmas time here right now, or after Christmas, and I volunteer with a foster care kids camp called Royal Family Kids Camp, which specifically focuses on foster care and orphans. And they give them a week of absolutely the greatest time at a camp for 1 week, and we just celebrate them. Birthday parties for them, because many of them don't get to celebrate birthdays because they get hot from home to home. So if we are going to do it, that's when we'd have to do it.
Let's also talk to a lawyer. Here's a thought. I don't know if this is illegal or not. This is why I say this. But what if we solicited donations and then traded them? Like, so we get $1,000 from listeners and everybody, and then for a year we try to make the most of it, and then donate whatever we make to charity, and we show it on.
Actually, that would be a cool thing. But actually, we would have to. I don't know. I think it is.
I don't know if you can raise money and then gamble it on a market.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, there's no way you can do that, because that's like fiduciary irresponsible. Because you're being a fiduciary by taking in the funds. So.
But is there maybe if we don't do it a lot though, right? Like, is there perhaps we keep it under a felony kind of a thing? I'm gonna look that up. I'm sort of curious about it now. I mean,
probably illegal.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably illegal.
Wait, Lucifer. Wait, let me say. Lucifer says, "What you mean? You can't make money as a trader? Have you not talked to my buddy Judas?"
Yeah. But by the way, what could go wrong when the devil says, "Oh yeah, you can do it"? Like, what could maybe that's our defense. We'll just say the devil made me do it.
Well, you misappropriated funds here, and then you actually went online to get it, and then you actually had the devil tell you could do it. Yeah. I mean,
no,
these guys in the right mind.
The devil said it wasn't illegal. Well, in that case dismissed.
Right. Oh, dude.
Okay, so maybe we can't do that. Maybe we have to pool our own private money, and then we could just do it that way.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But I bet what we could do is we could put a little bit of our own money in and guilt other people we know into it.
I like it.
Because you want to ruin a kid's birthday that doesn't have them. Seriously, just
I know, right? Doesn't have parents. Nobody really celebrates.
Nothing is illegal down here. Maybe we could collect this money.
I love and then
everybody can participate as we try to make more out of it, and then they could donate separate of our market manipulating, or they could follow along privately, and then we'll turn it all over at the end of the year.
You know what's interesting? So I've actually had multiple people reach out to me. I had one guy literally he shorted Ethereum when Ethereum merged, and or when they we did the merge, right? And so I said, I was watching the CME and I was watching all the shorts come in, and the way, because I saw a lot of wicks being produced. Shoot it up, close, wick, boom. And I was like, dude, they're putting in shorts. And I was actually talking on I was live streaming. This is before I was with Tom. And it was so funny. I jumped on Bankless and I started telling them, I said, guys, because they're like, oh, this is going to be so bullish for Ethereum. We're going to see it explode. It's going to be so big. It's going to be crazy. We can't wait. It's going to go to 10,000. And I'm like, no, this thing's about to drop. Like I'm telling you, the institutions are dropping this here. As soon as, because all these people, you're all buying and they're taking the other side on the CME futures. And they thought it was crazy. I literally blew up their chat during the merge. I felt so bad, but I was like, y'all are about to get demolished. The next day, they're like, well, the market's still up. Then by the end of the day, it actually dropped.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to run. Yeah. We cannot get Wallin into it. He's dumping a bunch of money into his business right now. But maybe we'll figure out a way to do this. It'd be great PR in the worst case, but let's we'll collect some money and then maybe people just play along at home, and then we all just agree to play insanity, and then we'll just in a year's time everyone just agrees to donate it, and we'll roll it down the discount. Make it money.
All right, brother. Thank you,
Satan.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for coming on, and look forward to you again, guys. If you don't know, go check out Chris and dude.
We just call him Wallin. I call him Wallin. Justin Wallin.
Justin. Dude, Justin is going to have to punch me in the face. He'd be like, dude. Croft
I can't wait to tell him that you don't know who he is. It's the best.
He'll come from me, he'd be like, don't look at me, puppet. Don't look at me. Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I want to talk about the coming volatility, the unavoidable coming volatility. I want to be all Bitcoin's going to crash because that's not what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
But it's going to go down, and if we have a derivatives market, it's going to go down in ways that
I look forward to it. I'm going to be buying up, man. Like, you don't understand, man. I'm going to be buying up, and it's like it's just how it happens. It's how markets work.
Yeah. Well, I want to understand this, figure out how to make money off of it, because we're clearly at the beginning of it, not the tail end.
Yeah.
And then someone has the Lynch moment and says, we're all going to die. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever followed that, but if anyone watching, like, read the founders of Merrill Lynch, the guy warned everyone 3 months, his own investors 3 months before the crash. He's like, deleverage, you've got to get out. There's a crash coming. And Merrill Lynch almost broke up over it. Because Merrill was furious at Lynch for saying that. It's pretty fascinating. And Goldman Sachs was on the other side of the coin. They got this idiot from Harvard who came in and told them, no, bye-bye. It's fascinating. And I'll close with this. I've joked, if I was less moral, I would hire an expert in the history of Wall Street to lay out all of the forms of market manipulation that are still legal in crypto, that are illegal in the stock market, and I would just do all of them.
Dude, that's exactly. We had a guy on, and he's, dude. I said, dude, what you're doing right now is definitely illegal, but legal here. So play it until you start to see what's happening. But here's the thing: we've got a pro-crypto government coming in, and so they're going to sit there and be like, "Oh, we should do something about that." It's gonna be like the same thing back in 2008, bro. It's exactly. And here's the thing, people. That's what happens. And we could talk about this, and it'll be fun me coming over and talking what potentially what we could see. Just by the way, I've made a lot of crazy things on here, and about 60% of them happen. So it's a bad rating. It's unfortunate. And Tom, and it was funny, Tom always sends me these news articles going, how the hell did you catch this? I'm like, well, just follow the lines, how they work. Just ding, 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 ding. This could happen, this could, and then, okay, boom, 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 right, next. And your brain just starts to run that way. It's the trader's mindset.
50% of the time, it works half the time.
25%, baby. Let's do it. All right. Get out of here, dude. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
You rock the mic. Talk to you soon.
All right.
All right. Take it easy, brother. All right, here we go. Boom. All right, guys. That was a great show with Chris as my co-host. He rocked the mic. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a good time had by all. Again, any of the statements we've said here is just all for fun. This is all social and educational purposes only. Many of the stuff that we always talk about here is something that we like to have fun. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you guys could, please hit the like, the subscribe, and share button. One of the biggest things that really help us out a lot is when you share it, go through on the other hand incognito and click that. That does help us out quite a bit. So if you could do that, I think you would appreciate it. Thank you, Carmen. Appreciate you guys there. You guys over at Rumble, thank you so much for coming in again, hitting the like button. That helped us out. I think we had some pretty good shows over there. So let me get out of here while you guys still have some daylight over here on the East Coast, and have a blessed day. And there we go, ending of the show. As I keep talking, I'm looking for the little connection, and Wednesday show, where did it go? See more overlay. Come on. Okay, here we go. Is this it? Nope, that's not it. You guys are like, come on, Pedro. There we go. And you guys have a blessed day. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. And Tom will be back. Bye-bye.